Good morning, good afternoon, good evening some places. MC people, how are we? Wonderful to see everybody. HBizzle, thank you. It is great to see. I gotta tell you, I'm loving the weekend streams so much better. I'm awake. You guys are all awake, whether you're on the in the US or you're over in Europe. This is just a much better time slot. Seems good. Druid, good afternoon. Noblesse, hello. Not to Noblesse. I was actually just talking to MCP before this. I was asking the question to figure out if I build the subway, will it immediately appear in world? And it seems like the answer to that is no. So I gotta double check with them to figure out logistically when I have to build a subway so that I can then do a live stream going into Mega World, going through the subway into District 214. So I'm going to figure that out, but I'm hoping that's actually going to be something for next weekend. Vitaly, hello. Vitaly, I was just upstairs showing Mrs. Baba the tweet from you and your wife. That is, first of all, it's an amazing view, so insanely jealous for that reason. But also, it's so crazy to see that there's somebody else on this planet who is in a tropical paradise and is choosing to take time to watch this instead of being on the beach. So thank you both very much. I really appreciate it. You can tell that everything is placed very specifically and with a purpose. But even like the way the sun was just shining in there was amazing. Yeti, dude, I still love that name. That name is gonna follow me around everywhere. Reppin', hello. Okay. I was gonna say there had to be something in there. That's not, you don't just pick up a camera, take a shot, and it's that. Oh, Eric's coming in strong. Hospitals and ambulances. Eric, you're like that one guy that comes into the WebEx meeting with the agenda's already set, and it's just like, oh, hey, just so really quick before we start talking, I just want to make sure, could we wrap up that last thing we were just talking about in that other meeting? I'll tell you what, Eric, the great news is it is Saturday. I get nowhere to really be. So we're going to go through some stuff about zoning, and we're going to take a look specifically in District 255 because we have the brand new district owner of 255 in the chat with us, HBizzle NFT. So we're going to go through that. And then anytime we can talk about, Eric, we can talk about some of your stuff. Floor is open, so we'll see where the conversation takes us. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday. All right. So let me get this straight. See, this is where I start to like really feel special about all this stuff. So we've got Vitaly, and Vitaly is, I don't want to say I want to make sure that name actually is Polly, but Vitaly and Mrs. Vitaly, somewhere off in a tropical paradise watching the stream. HBizzle, you're here on your birthday. Of all the things you could be doing, you're here. Oh, okay, all right. Oh, and now I see where Polly comes from. Polina, okay, awesome. Scotty is here. Good morning. Scotty, thank you for agreeing to be one of the new mods. I appreciate it. I am going to set that chat bot up so we can get stuff going with that too. Limix is here too. Good morning, Limix. Or good afternoon, good evening. Well, I am thrilled. And of course, Max is here. No stream would be complete without Max. All right, I was rolling a little bit late this morning because I'm having this issue with so I have a Dell XPS laptop that I think I paid $3,000 for. And I paid $3,000 for it because I said, you know what, I just don't want to ever have to buy another laptop. And I thought this would give me everything I need. And about a month and a half after my warranty expired, everything has started to break. So props to Dell on their planned obsolescence of parts. So we got everything tested. Give me a shout if there's any issues with audio. I think everything's good, but you never know. All right, so let's jump right into it. The plan for today is we do have a whole bunch of brand new folks that purchased land in the District 255 opening on the Tron side. So we're going to jump to 255. HBizzle is in the chat. He's the, or they, I actually don't know if it's, I don't know. So Bizzle's in the chat, owner of District 255, and we're going to jump right there and talk relative to District 255, but that does not preclude us from talking about any other plot of land and any district. So I'm going to open the floor to 255 first, and then for the veterans in chat, feel free to chime in as well. And if there's anybody else who has a plot of land they want us to jump to, we can certainly do that too. A mere 10K from Mythical Yeti Corn. Sweet. All right. I've been adjusting stuff on my desk. I've got the Stream Deck on another side, so I'm just trying to reorient myself here. All right, so let's jump to the Tron side. Yeah, I mean, fair, I suppose, is the intersection of the seller's asking price and the buyer's willingness to pay. Mega World prices. Oh yeah, I'm excited for what Mega World will do for land value. MCP's talked for a very, very long time about how they believe that in the long run, the true value of the game is going to be the land itself, not so much the buildings, which was very frightening at first. But the more they talk about it, the more I really like it. All right. So, HBizzle, what we're going to do is if you have anything that you want to share or type out, definitely share it in chat. I think what we'll do first is we'll just go through an overview of the district, take a quick walkthrough, and then as anybody who has land here or in another district, if you want to toss the X and Y coordinates in the chat, that would be awesome, and we'll jump right to it. Andy, good morning. I don't think you missed anything. You just missed me blabbering on just about some stuff. General good mornings. So no, you're all good. The drama in is there drama in 255? What's the drama? You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to fill up my coffee before I came down here. All right. Look at the second district building. The second, I'm not sure I know what you mean by that. 392412. Jump to 392412. For request of Druid. Commercial. Alright. Alright, so Druid, you've got your commercial set up here. And so commercials are going to be boosted by, let's check this out. You've got your residential and your other, what's the other commercial? Ah, over here, okay. So the great thing about your commercial location is commercial's not going to take any negative IP from industrial, right? So even if you were to place, even though you've got some industrials nearby here, you can place it there and it's not going to be a major issue. I'm actually going to pull up, I'll pull it up on the screen and then drag it over, but I want to pull up MCP HQ. We'll do the land plot surveyor. So some of this stuff, as we look at it, we'll look at what you've built and then also look at what the IP or efficiency could be if it was something else. Second here. Right. 392412. So Drew, talk to me a little bit about that that location. Is commercial your plan long term, or is that just what you dropped there for now? Just trying. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I mean the citizens. So I've never personally. I think I built one commercial just for some testing purposes. I've never really dove too deep into commercial. The one thing about commercial right now is IP actually really, I don't think it plays any role in anything. It might have something to do with some of the customizations that are offered through like the barbershop or stuff like that. But your actual restoration abilities don't seem to be tied to IP at all. It would be tied to the level and the citizens. All right, so your plot of land right there, what we're looking at is your commercial should have about 37% efficiency. So actually pretty low. And it's low because it doesn't have much to support it nearby. What you do have, though, is as far as industrial goes, you're looking at about 60% efficiency and 58% for production. So what you have, let's see, is this your residential or is somebody else's? It's your residential. Okay, all right, so these are both your buildings. So if you were to build an industrial over here, the good news is you're going to have decent IP, right? 60%, not great, but it's not bad. If you were to build industrial there, though, you are going to kill this residential. So just keep that in mind. You're never going to want to have residential and industrial nearby each other. But if you were to do that, you're going to have 60% efficiency. You're in an area that's pretty much already industrial. Oh, this is your 2x2. Perfect. But I love that you bought a 2x2. That's one, because you know, worst case, even if you decide at some point down the road you don't want this land or you want to move somewhere else in the district, your resale for that 2x2 is going to be far better than the resale for just a single plot. So wonderful thinking there. You are near resource plots over here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these two plots are going to be in range of this energy, which is going to make this a much more efficient industrial area. So this, coupled with the fact that you've got some industrial up over here, plus you've already got industrial established here, this is just a zone that's never going to be ideal for anything probably other than industrial or production, because you're going to have industrials get built all around this energy. So I think use the land right now to get your feet wet and learn what's going on. But ultimately, I think this becomes a great spot for industrial. You are probably going to have to worry about some saturation from other industrials giving you negative IP. So if you were to go the route of building towards a mega or even just a level 6, I would plan to probably grab one of these plots nearby within 3 spots of this for a monument POI. So that would mean that essentially any plot would be, if you were to build a mega here consuming all 4 plots, 1, 2, 3. So you would have to purchase a plot of land. 1, 2, 3. Essentially in this range right here. So any plot of land that touches one plot of your 2x2, you can use for a industrial monument POI. And when it's a mega, it will eliminate negative IP from all 4 plots. Until it's a mega, it will eliminate just the plots that it touches. Your upgrade fees. So 700, is that going to be for a level 2 upgrade? Let's check out what HBizzle's got here for taxes. Okay, so taxes are pretty low. I'm guessing, what, like 25% HBizzle? So your construction tax is going to be, you shouldn't be hit too hard there. For level 2, that seems high for level 2. I was under the, I think last I calculated, the only basis I have is in 214. The cost to go from nothing to a level 3 is just a tad over 1,000 Tron. That's what it is, Druid. It's because it's the commercial, right? And the commercial and office taxes are much higher. Yep, that's what, yeah. So if you were to build industrial, I'm guessing your cost to build to level 3 is probably going to be like 1,100, maybe 1,200 Tron. Blue, what's up, buddy? 27%. Perfect. All right. So yeah, so the nice thing about that site, Druid, is you can go industrial. You could also down the road, if you want to use that site. That site's going to be good for production as well because you're going to have plenty of industrial nearby. You do have it touch some energy. The drawback to production over here is going to be that right now there's no office. And I think that pretty much everybody would always give a guidance that unless you are vertically integrated and you're producing your own energy, water, and your basic industrial materials, almost never go production, just because it's not going to be nearly as profitable or profitable at all at a lower level. All right. What else do we have? I saw another Andy 384411. No problem, Druid. My pleasure. All right. Andy. I already forgot. 384411. Let's check it out. Smelter plant. Oh, right nearby. Awesome. I like as we're going through this, we got some energy upgrades in 255 happening as well. All right, so Andy, I think similarly, the great thing about industrial is even if there's nothing around, it's still always going to have decent IP, right? So you've got the 2x1 here, or the 1x2, depending on the way you look at it. The land nearby is still available, which is great. 3,300 Tron, not bad at all. It is, to your point, it's further away from energy. What I think I found personally is you can actually get away with not having perfect industrial IP if you have really solid citizens and at least a monument there. Your monument's going to add 5% on top of your yield. I think, if I remember correctly, I'm going to jump to 214 temporarily here. Sebaseek has a mega industrial. Oh, but it's near energy now. Okay. This used to not be surrounded by energy. And I think he had really, really good citizens plus the landmark and he was getting max yield. So I'm not sure, but there are cases where you can still get pretty solid yield from an industrial that's not in direct range of a lot of energy. Let me jump back here. 384, 411. There are some sectors that are a lot more forgiving than others, and industrial seems to be one of them. All right, so if you were to go in here, check this out. 411. I think you're going to see the same story. Okay. So you're a little bit lower here than the 60% that Druid had, but you're a little bit lower because you're not in range of any of that energy. So 350 out of a max of 625, you do have essentially it's the same split for industrial versus production. Depending on what other people do around here, I mean, you're gonna be what 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're gonna be 4 to 5 plots away from this other district. This is District 229. So when District 229 opens up, they will play some part in your IP because whatever they build over here is going to impact this land. So the danger here, I guess the good thing is because there's already resources and industrial in this area, you're not initially going and jumping to residential. This would be the one place I would say, like, always be careful if you are building something that's going to be highly dependent on the stuff around it. Make sure you're aware of any unopened districts or land in other districts that haven't been purchased yet. In this case, this is an unopened district. So if you were to build a residential over here, and somebody came in and started building industrial, you're gonna get hit quite hard. Yeah, Eric, correct. It doesn't take into consideration future construction, right? So that's why use the tool to understand what it looks like right here, right now, in the moment. But you still need to stop and think about what could be. Look nearby, look at the price of land. If the land is really cheap, always, whenever you see cheap land nearby, always assume that somebody's going to buy it and build an industrial building. And until things change in the economy, that seems to be the go-to. Yeah, so Andy, an office there would be good. However, the drawback to putting an office there is you're probably not going to have any support from residentials nearby. You're going to have to build your own residentials, and offices without residential and other office support really aren't going to yield a heck of a lot, right? So unless you're planning on purchasing other land nearby to drop level 1 residentials to boost the IP of your office, it's probably not going to be the best bang for your buck. You're at the bare minimum probably good using these as industrials until there comes a point in time where you've got a better spot or you want to relocate or anything like that. But this area definitely can be solid for industrial. See if there are any resource plots over here. No resource plots over here. So that means that this area is not going to automatically become an industrial zone when District 229 opens up. But industrial seems to pop up wherever there's open land. Yeah, and to Eric's point there, so he says offices are better center of the map versus on the border. One of the things that you will want to keep in mind is on the outer edge of certain districts, especially if it borders another district. The nice thing is it offers protection, but it's typically residential is the place that you're going to want to offer the most protection. An office on the edge is actually potentially going to be a drawback because if it's on the edge, that means that you're losing kind of two sides that you could have somebody else building more residentials or offices nearby to boost the IP of your office building. So to Eric's point, you're usually going to find offices located in an area that's large enough and open enough where people can build residentials to support that building. Let's keep the coordinates coming for sure. We'll zoom out here. We'll check out the layout of 255 because the layout usually has real strong dependency on how the district starts to develop. So what you'll see here is the way everything is laid out, you're going to find resource clusters always very, very close together and concentrated, which means that this entire area over here is going to become industrial production and energy. You're probably not going to see any offices pop up. Any offices that you do see getting built around here are most likely going to be level 1s, and it's going to be from somebody boosting their building. Let's see whose mega this is. Bizzle, I think you're TFM, right? So this is probably yours. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is Bizzle's industrial. So the great thing here, Got the POI dropped over here. The one drawback to the placement of this POI, HBizzle, is going to be you burned another 2x2 plot, right? So if you took this industrial monument and dropped it either over here or over here, what that's going to do is it's going to open up one more 2x2 that you could build over here, and it's still going to touch this area, and this area. So something to think about down the road. You may want to relocate this monument to one of these other plots just so you don't burn the 2x2 here. You could also, with some of these plots, adding just level 1 office buildings, whether it be a district office or a business center, is really going to help the IP of this as well. And if you start to have some office buildings built here, again, just level 1s, it's also going to make this an area that's very, very valuable for production buildings. If you don't want, so like, if you're playing defensive mode, like, hey, might want this land in the future, dropping that there, it's perfect because it should dissuade somebody from purchasing this land. If this is me looking at this area right now, there's probably no reason why I would personally buy this land because I don't own this building and I don't own that POI. So there's very, very little reason for somebody to say, hey, you know what? Despite all this other land being open over here, I'm going to buy right here. The drawback, though, is if the monument's there is more of a defensive position to ensure that somebody else doesn't build megas there. The only drawback is going to be that when you are ready to purchase that land and build another building there, you're going to have to deconstruct the monument, which you're going to get 25% of the materials back, but you're going to have to reconstruct it and spend that Tron again, which I think is probably going to be in the ballpark of what, like 3,000 or 4,000 Tron. So if you don't mind burning that capital twice, it's no problem at all. What you've also done with this too is you've ensured that nobody else is going to build a industrial monument in this area, preventing you from building one of your own, right? Because no POI can be constructed within the range of another POI of the same type. Yep, and then to Eric's point here, so because you've purchased this plot of land and you own these plots, anytime you buy land nearby, so let's check out purchase price of this. So you bought this plot of land for 583, or I'm sorry, the plot was originally purchased for 583 Tron. So this is your starting point. So whenever somebody purchases a plot of land nearby, and it would be within 3 plots of this, you're going to get 7273 Tron every time that plot is purchased. Because the way that it works is anytime a plot of land is purchased near you, if it's within 3 plot range, you get 12.5% of the original purchase price of the land. So even though you bought this off the secondary market for a price higher than that 583, looks like 1900 Tron thereabouts, you're not going to get 12.5% of the 1900. You get 12.5% of the 583. But I love what you got here. This is a solid setup because you've got your industrial right near energy. You've got a POI there. You could also actually, so the way that I would look at this, HBizzle, is depending on what your plans are, not just for your own buildings, but if you want to incentivize other people to build industrial buildings, this is actually a perfect spot right here, one of these 2x2s, to build an industrial landmark. Because what's going to happen with the industrial landmark is you're immediately going to turn all of this land right here into extremely valuable industrial land. You're going to give yourself and your building a boost. Your negative IP removal stays intact because a POI is going to eliminate negative IP from that same type of sector within a 3 plot range. So 1, 2, 3. Everything in this section over here won't take any negative IP hits from industrials. And your POI, if you built it right over here on these 4, would actually reach out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could even have mega industrials built as far as here that would be in range of that POI receiving that bonus. Live construction here. Let's check this out. Is this you as well? Oh, this is you. I love it. Okay, we get a chance to watch HBizzle building live here. Sweet. Oh, it's good that you're securing the resource plots. 5, Andy, depending on where he built it. So the good thing about a landmark, not a monument, a landmark is going to it just has to touch one of the 4 plots of a landmark. So if he did build it, let's say he built using plot 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's going to be 1 plot, 2 plot, 3, 4, 5. The range is going to extend to these 2. And that would mean that if you built something here or you built a mega over here, it's going to touch that. It preaching to the choir there, HBizzle. It does. It takes some time. There's definitely value if you have the capital in brute forcing stuff, as long as you do it the right way, right? And one of the nice things here would be if you were to build a landmark here. Right, so if your plan long-term is you want to control this whole area and you just want to make this HBizzle's industrial compound, you probably don't want to build that landmark right now because other people are going to come in and buy the land. But if you don't have any plans specifically for this land, if you were to build a landmark here, as soon as you build that, it should draw people into this area to purchase land nearby. And if they're purchasing land nearby, you're getting a cut of that. So in theory, you should get a decent chunk of the actual price of the landmark back. Kevin, I can't wait. Kevin says landmark could also play a future role in the world, which I think MCP talked about the potential for, at the bare minimum, them to be used as storefronts, which is pretty cool. So excited about that. But yeah, you could sometimes, like me personally, when I built all the landmarks in 2.14, I built them to serve a specific function in the here and now, create value, grow the value of the land nearby, and provide landowners with an opportunity to max out their yield. However, there's future considerations there as well that should definitely be contemplated. If you're on the fence, it could push you over. Frankie, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Thanks for showing up in chat. I love it. Yeah, so Andy asks, so just touching one corner affects the whole building for a landmark and a monument. That's true, right? So the thing to consider is if let's say you have a 2x2 site and you're planning on constructing a level 6 or a level 7 at some point, as long as the range of just one plot of either the monument or the landmark touches just one plot of your 2x2, when you have that mega built, it's going to remove it for everything. So the key is just make sure one plot from both your POI and your site are in range of each other. If you have a 2x2 plot and you're not planning on upgrading it to a mega or to a level 6, that's when you have to really stop and think, because if you just have 4 level 5s, all 4 level 5s aren't going to be affected by that POI unless all 4 are in range of at least one plot of that POI. Correct, Eric. So yes. So in this particular case, some of this area would stretch into the trees, which there's good and bad. I mean, actually, there's no good to it, right? It's an opportunity cost. However, you will find certain areas where you've got the right combination of resource plots and protection for some industrials that you're going to be willing to accept losing a couple plots from the POI, which I think has occurred a handful of times in at least 2.14. I'm sure other places too. Just work vibes. I mean, Frankie, if this turns out to be work, or I guess like work, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Even on my worst day in MCP, it is still usually better than even some of my best days in the office. So I'll take that all day long. All right, so as we're talking, HBizzle is building. So you got the level 6 energy here. You're working on your water plant here. That's awesome. Looks like you secured the land nearby, so you can build these up to megas, which is a very, very good idea. Let's check out. So this area should very quickly become just hotbed for industrial energy and production. If anybody has plans to build residential here, don't. It's just going to get hurt. If you're going to build an office somewhere, this is probably not the right place to build it unless you're building level 1 boosters for your industrial or production. Hey, Blue. How you doing? It's always wonderful to see you here. All right, that is going to bring us into this next area. Oh, Bevins! I love it when you guys say hi because I always forget to check who is actually watching. So, hey. Uh-oh. Look who's here. Welcome to the MCP team. Hello. We got this is quite the crowd. Awesome. Thank you for joining. I'm telling you guys, you find me one other game out there where the developers are here joining a stream. Find me that one. And if you find that one, it's probably going to be Axie and they're already on the moon. Correlation, maybe. All right, so, HBizzle, you've got your industrial area. And then this area here. So, I like that. I think, so these are your offices, right? So, something to consider is that this area does not have any resource plots nearby, right? So, nobody should be immediately drawn to this area for industrial right over here. However, you do have this area over here. So technically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything over here, I'd say like from this road over to the right, bad area for residential because this is going to get full of industrial, right? So from there up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to this area. Consider this all industrial production and energy. Over here, though, you've got this nice area that's getting built up over here, right? Predominantly office, but it looks like you've started to put down some level 1 residential boosters, which is great because this area will fill up with industrial. However, you don't necessarily care because you don't care if this residential IP gets hurt because you're not using it to breed, presumably. So that would be the first thing. Don't plan on using these buildings to breed because you're probably going to have industrials get built here. What you've also done by having these offices here is that this has now become even more prime for industrial buildings or production. Because if you're going to build an industrial or production building here or here, you're not only going to have the IP boost from the nearby energy and the industrial, but you're now also in range of offices. So if you were to look at this area, this is not ideal for residential because you have this unopened district and people could build industrials here, which would hurt this land for residential. But if you go pure office and just use L1, level 1 residentials to boost the IP of these offices, you can be in great shape. You could also, right over here, what we have here, 1. If you dropped an office landmark right over here, these 4 plots, you're going to get a 15% boost to your wages for this building, and this one. Presumably all 3 of these are yours. Oh, Atan, okay. All right, so Atan built that one. So it's gonna boost all of them if you wanted to. So like public POIs are nice because everybody gets to use them. You could always, in this particular case, you could create a corporation and assign the landmark to your corporation, at which point Atan's office would continue as it is. It wouldn't receive any of the benefits of it, but yours would. So it's going to be one of those, it's tricky, right? Because this is a district office. You've built a district office. you're based off your tax policy. It looks like you're trying to protect that fund predominantly from you or for you. If you were to build a landmark there, you're also going to boost his wages or their wages by 15%. So it's essentially probably going to be net. Your share of the district fund is not going to increase all that much because you're going up by 15%, but they're also going up by 15%. So in this case, if you're looking to protect your share of the fund while also boost your overall revenue from the fund and the global fund, you drop a landmark. I guess you don't even have to put it over there, right? Because if you're not looking to boost his, drop a landmark over here. And that would also open up this land too, that if you want to build another office, a business center or something, you do that. I think what Eric's saying there is the concept of boost by anything you're doing, because these are both district offices. They're pulling from this district fund of 89,000. So what's going to happen is every time the IP of this building goes up, it's a zero-sum game. So it has to take from somewhere else. You can never pay out more than the fair share of the district fund. So when you get that 15% bonus, that 15% has to come from somewhere. So it's going to come from the share that's paid out to the other offices. And I think what we've learned too is the office landmarks. It's not so much that your wages just increase by 15%. I think the biggest boost to it is the fact that it makes up for if you have less than perfect IP and you have less than perfect citizens. It increases essentially. It says, okay, if based off the citizens you have staffed for this building, you are only going to receive 75% of the max share that you could. That landmark increases that from, let's say, 75% to maybe 90%. So it closes the gap on what your headroom is. It doesn't necessarily put you over and above what the max yield would be. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think predominantly what you're talking about is the IP of an office is going to determine what the potential maximum yield is going to be. And then your citizens are essentially, if you have perfect citizens, you're going to get that 100% of what your max yield is. If your citizens are less than perfect, you're going to have this gap between what the most amount of money you could get from your offices is and what you're currently getting. And what the office POI does is it helps to close that gap without you needing to get better citizens or boost your IP further. I can do a little rating, absolutely. Over the max headroom. I did say max headroom, huh? Yeah, there you go. So when you're boosting somebody else's wages, you are, for all intent and purposes, potentially taking that away from yours as well, right? So in this case, you'd be boosting his, you'd also be boosting yours. So net, it probably doesn't make that big of an impact. If you only had just a district office here, you probably wouldn't want to do that. But because you've got a business center here, you would be boosting the business center as well. Yeah, I think you did really, really well. As long as you're not planning on making this a zone for your breeding specifically, or a larger breeding area for others, this is good. Just continue to use this for level 1 boosters. One other thing to consider is going to be, as World comes out, there are a lot all over the map, especially in District 258. You have a lot of offices, especially mega offices, that have a whole bunch of level 1 boosters nearby. And the question's ultimately going to be, at some point, does the land become so valuable that it actually makes more sense to sell it or use it for something else instead of your level 1 boosters? At which point you would take that hit on your office income, but it would come with the opportunity for you to build something else. So your IP on these buildings, let's check this out. All right, so it's approaching an ideal point. So 100,000, a little over 100, what, 113,000 in total. And then this one looking solid. Okay. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think 140,000 is the max for a level 7 office without appliances. So in theory, I'm guessing you're probably, with this building, you're probably getting in the ballpark of around maybe 350-ish Tron per day. You're probably looking at around 500 Tron per day right now if you were to get this to the max IP. So if you were to purchase other land nearby to build more level 1 residentials, you can have, I believe it's up to 20 residentials that are impacting this one building. It's either 20 or 10, I forget. That will help increase that as well. 150,000, okay. 150,000 before appliances. And Andy, yeah, the 225,000 is going to be probably in districts like 225, where Tut has unlocked +2 appliances. So if you're able to attach 5 red satellites on top of that, that's a huge, huge bump. 20 residential and 10 offices. So there you go. So Bizzle, ideally what you're going to have is, in range of both of these buildings, you're going to want to have 20 residential buildings. Just level 1's fine. Eric, you mentioned one thing here about, I think, not ideal for residential unless there was a POI. The challenge would be for that, if we're talking about the same thing, even if he dropped a residential landmark here, that residential landmark, it's going to help because you're going to have the 8% boost to the offspring stats. You're going to have the opportunity for future super appliances, which the special citizens and stuff, I'm sure that's going to play a role. The drawback, though, is that that's not going to remove the negative IP from any industrial or production or energy buildings that are built nearby. So you totally could. You could build a residential landmark and do something with that, but you're still going to be prone to incursions from industrial. Max IP for buildings is district-based or will. So it's actually going to be world and district agnostic. The max IP is always going to be the same. It's universal. It's based off of you having max IP would be the impact of having an office constructed, a level 7, that also has 10 offices and 20 residentials in range. That's going to get you to 150,000. So the base IP from office plus the 10 additional offices plus the 20 residential offices get you to 150,000 IP at level 7, and then you drop your appliances on top of that, and that builds off of the 150,000 base. So 225, I think, is going to be representative of a perfectly meticulously zoned office that has as many office and residential buildings nearby as it can take, plus it has 5 red satellites. Very interesting, Kevin. Absolutely. Lots of these IP boosters are probably going to, or some of them initially are going to start to go away, and people are going to have to start thinking, is this land more valuable to me as a booster for this other plot of land, or can it serve another purpose or function that will bring me even greater value? Eric, so does a mega level 7 count as 4 or 1? I believe what we identified is that, so what we know to be true is when you're calculating the IP, and this is all credit to Jericho on this one, when you're calculating the IP of a mega, what actually occurs is you're calculating the IP of each individual plot in that mega and adding it up together. So you're evaluating 4 plots. And those 4 plots have a lot of overlap, but they actually also have 1 row of land that is unique just to them. So you're looking at essentially 4 squares or 4 different 11 by 11 areas of influence that all come together and add it up. So technically, I believe that they do count so like plot 1 of a mega office should take into account plot 2, 3, and 4 of the office. I think, I'm not positive. I do know the one place where we saw something that seemed strange is I think on the production buildings, the production building may actually be accounting for the building itself, because I think there have been some cases where we've seen a level 1 or level 5 built, and it actually has negative IP from production, and there weren't any other production buildings around. So something to keep an eye out for there. Bevins, what do you think land above the offices should not... Right. Why do you think land above the offices should not be used for residential? The locked land above has no energy, so it should make... Okay, so it depends on your definition of above. So in this case, I'm assuming you're talking about this one over here. So whether you're saying above or to the left, my hesitation here would be me. So me personally, if I was going to purchase land for a residential zone, whether it be a 1 mega, 2, 3, whatever the case be, my biggest concern here is human nature, right? So out of the gate, HBizzle does not currently, maybe he will, maybe he won't, does not currently own District 228. I think this is 229 to the left. Okay, so bordered by District 229 on the left and 228 on the above. So when these two districts open, if HBizzle does not own them, he's going to lose the ability to say, hey, opening District 228, opening District 229, please do not build any industrial production, or you can't build energy, but any industrial production buildings over here, because this is a residential zone. There's no leverage there. So what will happen, and we see this a lot, right? As new Tron districts open, especially the better the economy grows, that cheap land is a very, it's a siren song for people who are going to come in, buy a cheap plot of land, toss a level 1 industrial down. So until the price of land gets to a certain point where somebody who's not really paying attention to Discord, doesn't truly understand the game fully, they're most likely going to come in, buy a cheap plot of land, drop an industrial down in one of these areas, and impact the IP, right? So my biggest concern here would be, even though there are no resource plots around, doesn't preclude somebody, a random person in the District 228 opening, from buying one of these plots of land, one or more, and building an industrial building there, which 1 or 2 may not kill things, but it does open the door to creating a zone that HBizzle himself is not necessarily in control of. What's the difference between someone just doing that? Yeah, so I mean, there's nothing, right? The one thing that's going to benefit HBizzle is, so like this area, somebody can come in and drop an industrial building here too, right? But HBizzle has the ability to work, I guess, within the confines of his district ownership, control, or authority to reach out to the person and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to build a residential zone here. Please, can I buy the land from you? Let me swap you. Let me move what you were planning on building industrial here. Let me give you a plot of land further away. I'll swap you for this land. And HBizzle, this kind of comes down to where ensuring that the community knows exactly what the plans are for each area is going to help ensure that stuff like that doesn't happen, right? So you might not be able to have complete control over what happens on the outskirts of 228 or 229, but as long as you're proactively sharing with your community, listen, this is an area that I really want to preserve for you and me, for residential areas and for offices, then out of the gate, anybody knowing that, as long as they know that, anybody that comes in and builds an industrial building in here, it's not going to prevent them from building it, but your entire community is going to look at that person and be like, what the hell? Like, that was a dick move. You knew that this is a residential area. You still dropped an industrial building there. And it does happen. It happens, but people notice it. And typically when that happens, people just don't deal with that person. They don't sell them land. They're certainly not going to give them any breaks on stuff. So there's I think a social element too that can sometimes help keep some of those random buildings in check. Uh, 228 is to the north, HBizzle, and then 229 is to the west. I guess depending on how your map is right now, if we're looking at this, you've got 228 over here on the left side, and then, I'm sorry, 229 on the left and 228 above. Yep. Yeah, so even if you bought the land, or if you bought District 228 and 229, like, again, there's benefits to that, right? So owning 3 districts or 2 districts that are side by side, or 3 that are side, like, I'm sure there's probably some really cool stuff you could do with World because of the proximity. But buying the district, again, you don't own all the land. It does give you the ability to set certain policies. When all is said and done, the cheaper option is probably just develop a zoning plan and then work with the community to really protect that area. Yeah, Bizzle, we'll have to get you on video. I did just, and this is exciting, I was able to figure out how to pull people in from Skype. So having guest callers and participants here, both using audio and video, is now possible. So that is super, super exciting. Yeah, so Eric's comment, this is cool, right? So owning a district and building in that district, the first and foremost, the biggest benefit you're going to get is 17% of your costs are coming right back to you whenever you build an upgrade. Plus, when you buy the land, you're getting a cut of that land back. And I think, Bizzle, your land prices are set to 100%, I believe. Yeah, you're set to 100%, which means that anytime anybody buys land, you should be getting a pretty handsome chunk of change back. The one drawback to this is going to be your tax policy is solid. That land price right now, it's going to be tough, right? Because the cost of capital, Tron flirting around 10 cents, who knows if it goes higher, if it drops lower, but at the current prices of Tron, it's going to be very difficult for somebody who is looking at purchasing a 2x2 plot or a single plot of land to say, hey, you know what, it makes more sense for me to come in here and purchase a 2x2 for 20, 30,000 Tron here versus waiting for the next district to open and buying that land super, super cheap. So what I would consider is, like, I'm just about to set my land prices in 214 to 100%. And I've been gradually staggering them up from 25 to 33 to 50, 75, and so on. And to me, that's to serve a couple of purposes. One, when it's set to 100%, you get more of the purchase price of brand new land than you do at 50%. But the price of land nearby goes up much quicker. So in my mind, in 214, I've established a value proposition of having a premium district where people who have already purchased land, their land value is stabilized and it's appreciating. But for me to get somebody to come in and purchase a plot of land for 10, 15,000 Tron, there has to be a reason for them to do that. And I think with World coming around the corner and the way that I've marketed and developed 214, I personally think that I'm going to be able to get people to come in and purchase unsold plots of land for 10, 15, 20, 30,000 Tron in the future. And therefore, I don't necessarily want somebody to come in and buy super cheap land because it's an opportunity cost for me. On your side, you might benefit from dropping that from 100% down to like 25, let's say somewhere around 25, 33, maybe 50 if you really, really want to keep it high. Because what that's going to mean is you're going to have a lot of areas that as people start to buy 2, 3, 4 plots, the land nearby is going to start to get really, really expensive really quickly. Because every time somebody buys it, it's using that 100% as the determining factor for what the land increases to nearby. Whereas if it's 50%, instead of this a plot going from 3,500 Tron to 5,000 Tron, maybe it goes from 35 to 4,200. So as an example, you've got a lot of land over here. So this plot of land is probably going to be relatively expensive, 11,000 Tron, right? And therefore, somebody probably other than you is not likely going to buy this land unless you've done something to create a whole bunch of value, or I guess 11,000 Tron worth of value for that land. And to Eric's point, the nice thing too is when you've got other people building in your district, the great thing is you can usually use the revenue from the taxes from people constructing and collecting to actually fund your own collection. So me personally in 214, I've never had to put any money into 214 for collections. All my collections are taken care of using the tax revenue that I get from other people collecting. And then anytime somebody buys land usually when somebody buys land in 214, that gives me the money that I need to either make upgrades, buy citizens, buy more land for myself, or use it for additional POIs, or more recently, literally over the last 3 months, every single penny that I've earned and every single material that I've made over the last 3 months has gone into getting Mega to then purchase all the materials I need for that metro station. So this is a great area. If you were personally trying to max out your passive revenue, this is a great area for you to drop an office landmark. And what you could also do too, so like this area here, so you're blocking this right here for a landmark. You could always remove this POI, move it somewhere else, like over here or over here where you're not blocking it, and drop the office landmark over there. All right, moving on over here. So you got a lot of land over here. You're still in that same block where you've got resource plots over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty much this entire area from here all the way over to about over here. This is likely all going to fill up with industrial, which means that this area up top is not going to be ideal for residential. Plus, you do run into the situation where you've got that unopened district above. You don't know what's going to happen up here. There's no natural protection. It's just a single road. There's no trees. So this is a little bit of a wild card area. Depending on what happens over here when this district opens, if this is super heavy for offices, this actually could become a nice area for residential, provided that you're able to stop people from building industrials up here and they kind of like build to over here and then stop. And it's tough too, right? Because you've got plots of land here that are sold, but nobody's really done anything with them yet. So that makes it a little bit tough. And as a district owner, me personally, when I see a plot of land that's sold and not built on, I'm anxious. I'm anxious because I don't know what that person's going to do with the land. And in my case in 214, I've got Ted owns like 300-400 plots. And he's built on a whole bunch of them, but he still has a ton that he hasn't built on. And therefore, the great thing is, I got to give credit to Ted, is he follows zoning. But he follows zoning because there was zoning there for him to follow. He knows these are the parameters. This is what we're trying to, as a community, build and develop together. And therefore, if he goes and builds an industrial building on one of his open plots of land in a residential zone, it's, like he can do it. There's nothing that prevents me as a district owner from stopping him from doing that. But he can't plead ignorance. He can't say, oh, I didn't realize we were trying to create a residential area there, because there's a zoning plan that he can refer to. So definitely don't underestimate the value of your community knowing exactly what you're trying to create, not just holistically in the entire district, but also in specific areas. And the nice thing too is, if you were to tell people, hey, listen, this area over here, this is going to be for production and industrial. Now all of a sudden, these people who have land here, they might start to build industrial production there, but they can also start to market this land to other players who are looking for industrial or production land. And it just kind of sometimes catalyzes and greases the wheels a little bit to get some momentum and movement. Because right now, this land being unsold and unused is doing nothing for you. The name of the game is, unfortunately for district owners, land that's purchased but not being used is just a waste of a plot for us, because there's no tax revenue being generated. So at the bare minimum, you would love to have level 1s built that are based off of what you have for zoning in that area, because those level 1s every 7 days are are going to create some value for you. Yeah, Eric, I would love for more controls as the district owner for planning and for zoning. There's obviously some drawbacks, right? Like you want to make sure that you don't have somebody, a district owner that goes rogue, buys the district, and then essentially like plays a game of, well, I'll unlock that plot of land and zone it, office for you, but you have to pay me 5,000 Tron or, half an ether. You probably want to try to avoid that. But if we're going for what's ultra realistic, like if you're the mayor or the governor, whatever you want to call it, of your district or town, that the town has the ability to set what you can and can't build. So this is an area for, for residential. This is an area for commercial. And you can't just drop a windmill, in a neighborhood, right? So I'd love to see a little bit more realistic or practical controls for district owners to give them the ability to create really, really like purpose-driven areas in their district. Because everybody benefits. When you've got a district owner that is sharing their ideas, is building something, has a plan, it doesn't hurt anybody. Let's keep checking here. All right, so we move a little bit further to the right. Now we're dealing with an area where there are no resource plots, right? So this means that there's a lot of utility that can be brought to this area. So you don't have any, interestingly, there's no rogue industrial buildings constructed here, which is really, really cool. Because it would be very easy. Again, somebody that comes in and buys a plot of land for 300, 400, 500 Tron, the easiest thing for them to do is just drop a level 1 mixer or smelter there and start producing materials. That hasn't happened in this area. So that means that this area, if you were to move forward and say, hey, you know what, I actually want this to be a residential area, you could still create that. You're still going to be prone to having some random person build an industrial there. But I think when we look at other districts, I think 225 was a really good example of where we've seen a lot of players like kind of almost like self-police a little bit, but like, hey man, like that's a production building. You built it in an office zone, or you built it in a residential zone. Like, let's do something with that. It's been really, really nice to see. So this area, you could build out for another residential area or residential/office. We always neglect to talk about municipals and commercials in zoning because right now they don't really, there's no draw as to why you would want a whole bunch of commercial buildings or municipals constructed. So something to keep in mind is at some point, those buildings are going to become ideally highly relevant and desirable again. And when that happens, it might make sense to have areas set aside specifically for them. So yeah, so this area, you could go residential. You've got some industrials that are built up here, so you're going to want to avoid residential over here. But over here in the middle, again, especially if you were to drop a residential landmark, like let's say right over here, residential POI, that sends a signal that this area is for residential, and it typically will dissuade somebody from building industrial. The other nice thing, when you drop a landmark down, people will typically buy the land nearby it fairly quickly, depending on the price. And as soon as the price of land, I think, as soon as it exceeds like the 3,000, 4,000 mark, your chances of having a rogue player come in and purchase a single plot of land for 4,000 Tron just to build an industrial goes down drastically. Whereas when it's 500 Tron, who cares? It's 500. I'll buy it. I'll drop my level 1 down there. So the other good thing that you have going for you, the I guess the benefit of having your land prices set to 100% is you're probably not going to encounter many people in the future. They're going to come in, buy an unsold plot of land, and drop a random industrial on it in a non-industrial zone. But you do still have to worry about all of these plots of land that are already sold. Druid, is there a roadmap with what districts will be on sale when, and some information on the districts that are yet to go on sale? That is a great question. I don't think they go in numerical, Eric, because Bevan Zone's 257. That was CERN's. and that came out before 214. So I don't know what the pattern is for the determination of what the next district is. It doesn't seem to be numerical. It doesn't seem to be geographical. I don't think. Maybe it is geographical. So I don't know that we can actually say what's like 2, 3, 4 down the road. We know the next 2, right? Because you're going to have the one that is, usually there's going to be 2 going at the same time. You're going to have one that has been purchased and one that is up for auction. But I don't think we know beyond the ones that are for auction what's going to come next. It's not geographical, yeah. I don't know. I'd say I wonder if it's random, but nothing in MCP is ever random. Even the stuff that you think is random, there's always a constant value that drives it. So I guess we don't really know what district's going to be next, but we do know what the unopened ones are. You can also check for the districts that are unopened. If you click into one of the plots, and then you hit info, I believe it will give you some information on the district, unless that has been changed. Maybe it doesn't. Might just be a bug on my end. But I know it used to be that if you were in the district that's unopened and you clicked on info, you could check to see how many land plots, how many resource clusters, all that stuff. Interesting. Because there are some big Tron districts that are yet to be open, like 2,000 plots. Those are going to be some monsters. Full energy area in 255, 405, 399. I would love to, Reppin. I would love to. 405, 399. All right. So you've got this plot. Let's check out who your neighbors are. Returner is on Discord and accessible, so that's good. Vitaly, who is in chat. That one. And Ben Com. I don't know who Ben is. Okay. So you've got Returner, Vitaly, and Ben over here. Let's see who owns this plot. CN1, they're on Discord as well. So the good news is so far, pretty much all of your neighbors, you can reach out. Ben, I don't know who Ben is on Discord. So you've got people here that can be reached. So if you're trying to expand, you can do that. Let's see what you have nearby. Are these okay? So no resource plots nearby. So your site here is at best going to be able to become a level 6 because this plot right here has no resources. So this can become a level 6 if you purchase that 2 resource plot. What's going to happen here is you're already going to see it. Your IP is probably 0. It's not 0. 210. Only 6. Oh, because you've got the industrial nearby. Okay. So what will happen eventually is as these other resource plots get purchased and somebody builds level 1 on there, you're going to end up with a huge hit to your IP. So if you are planning on level 6 here, you're probably going to want to consider purchasing or building a monument. The other thing here is, depending on where you build the monument, if you were to build a monument up over here, you're probably going to want to avoid buying land for a monument over here. Because ideally, what's going to happen is you want somebody that's going to build an industrial building to come and purchase these 4 plots. They purchase those 4 plots, they're going to drop industrial buildings down. You're going to have 4 additional buildings all helping your plot here. So best case scenario for you is going to be get somebody in who's an industrial developer here and or here. And you're going to want to look for essentially an industrial or production buildings to start popping up over here. So just be careful. If you were to go the path of a POI, make sure you're not burning a 2x2 that could actually benefit you because you're going to have a new neighbor come in. Tally's point, he does have a spot for a monument right here if you're looking for it. But yeah, the challenge with this area right now, Reppin, is that there's, with the exception of this one industrial building, there's nothing else here. But if there were going to be additional industrial buildings added here, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I am kind of surprised though about this. This IP calculation doesn't seem right, because you have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 different energy buildings in range, and you're only losing 75 IP for energy. I think your IP on this, you're at, I don't know. There's something strange there. So you might be getting a little bit lucky right now. The fact that your IP is 210. What's it say? 405, 399. Oh, 210. 75, 15 IP per. Okay. Yeah. So you'll continue to lose some there, but any industrial buildings or production buildings nearby, it's going to very, very quickly. Yeah. And to your point, so like if you plan on building industrial yourself, one of the great advantages to building near yourself with complementary buildings is, if you were to build an industrial building nearby in range of this energy plot, your industrial building is now adding incremental efficiency to your energy building, and your energy building is adding incremental efficiency to your industrial building. So both of them are actually helping each other. Versus when you start building in completely different places, you're helping other people and you're being helped by other people, but you're not actually ever helping yourself. Oh, awesome. Good. You got you for the level 6. Great. I'm so happy to see people coming in and buying not just one plot, but at least buying the second plot. You will find, while it's a grind sometimes if you don't have the capital up front to build a level 6, the difference between a level 6 and a level 5 is night and day, and the difference between a level 7 and a level 6, especially when the price of Mega jumps up and speed ups become profitable, you can't compete with a level 7. Yeah, I love it. Like, Andy, even your stuff too. Every person that has shown me coordinates has taken the time to secure more than one plot nearby. That's awesome to see. If you were to rewind the clock, like even just 5 or 6 months ago, you wouldn't see that happening. So the people who are coming in who are newer to the game and the community, you're picking things up at a rate that is exponentially higher than what we've seen in the past. Very, very happy to see that. Yeah, all four stuff, because it's the opportunity cost, right, Andy? If you buy all 4 plots, especially HBizzle's got land set, it's expensive land, right? So you buying all 4 plots, it's like, all right, well, do I want to secure all 4 plots, or do I actually want to build and start producing? So you got to play this game of, okay, should I buy 1 or buy 2 plots? And usually the good thing is, as soon as you start to secure 1 or 2 plots of a 2x2, unless somebody's being a real jerk, or unless the land is super, super cheap nearby, you usually don't have to worry about somebody coming in and buying 1 or 2 plots if those 1 or 2 plots themselves can't become a mega as well. So you can usually buy yourself some time by just securing 1 or 2 plots of a 2x2, because it usually sends a signal to somebody else that says, hey, like, I'm going to buy these plots in the future. So if you were to buy these land plots, like, hey, you can buy them and try to flip them, but you're not going to get my 2 plots as well. Druid, that makes me so happy to hear that you're picking stuff up because of all the stuff that the community's built so far. That's exactly what we set out to do, and I'm thrilled to see that coming to fruition. Right, let's hop back over here. So we talked about this area. This area, if we were to zone specifically and say, hey, this is an area for residential, offices, commercial, municipal, a residential POI here would go a long way to ensuring that none of this land started to get used randomly for industrial. You will also see over here. So the nice thing too about the way that 255 is laid out is you don't have a lot of land that's being burned by footpaths. Everything is very grid-like. So even here, you got, this is probably an area that no matter what people build currently today, it probably becomes an area for custom buildings in the the near future, with the exception of down here, where because there's energy and resource plots, this land is just probably too valuable for industrial to pass up. So this area likely becomes industrial, but I would imagine that people buying land over here probably purchase this with the intent to build custom buildings, because you're gonna have a nice view. You can have a little water feature, some waterfront property. Still border, this is gonna be 228 still. Still 228, yeah, so border of 228. And then over here, looks like you've got an office and residential area sprouting up, which is good. Challenge here is going to be, if this fills in with custom buildings, you'll be fine. But you're gonna want to watch for bleeding from industrial, which you see happening already. These are buildings that are being constructed just in range of one or more energy plants, and therefore pretty much everything from here over to here, this area, you're gonna have to assume this is gonna become industrial energy and production, which is gonna mean that while you can definitely use this area for office and residential, just be mindful of some industrial incursion. And you do have this other district, 227, which is not yet opened. What's interesting about 227 as your neighbor here is that because of the way this land is laid out, somebody should actually be purchasing this land for custom buildings. What do you have here? A 5x3, a 4x3, 4x3. Like this hopefully would not become heavy industrial. Somebody should be building this, because this is what I think that Blue's location in front of the main tower on the Ethereum side is, Blue, correct me if I'm wrong, 5x2, I think. And we saw, based off of the demo, what can be constructed on a 5x2. So this is a 5x, you get a 5x3 and a 4x3. These could be massive, massive skyscrapers. All right, we've done our journey to, okay, and then you've got more resource plots down here. Okay, so more likely than not, what will happen is as these districts open up too, they're going to start building industrial around here because of the proximity to the resources. Let's see if there are any resource plots. Yep. Okay, and then this district has resource plots over here, so this will all become industrial. Resource plots over here, yeah, so this area over here is all most likely going to become heavily concentrated in industrial, unless when this district opens, World is already out or close to being out, and people jump in and say, no, I want this land specifically so I can build these massive skyscrapers. Yeah, so I think, HBizzle, all in all, the great thing that you've got going for you is, while it's a smaller district, there's nobody that's gone rogue, right? You don't have a lot of random industrials built all over the place, which is usually one of the first challenges that occur as a district owner. If you can't keep the industrials in check, it definitely creates a headache for you, because then you have to worry about trying to relocate people. Your zoning plans kind of go out the window because you create this area for residential, but if you've got a whole bunch of industrials popping up, there's only so much you can do. So as far as being set up for success, there's nothing happening in your district today that says, you know what, like this area is burned, it's no good. You're in great shape there. You yourself personally have secured a lot of great land, and you start to build on it. So everything you're doing, everything you're building, constructing, you're getting 17% back. Your collections, you're going to have an extra 17% of margin on your collections that the average landowner in your district is not going to have, because you're getting your 17% cut back. And therefore, speed ups are going to become more profitable to you quicker than everybody else. That's great news for you. Speed ups are going to be a huge source of revenue for you if the economy goes in the right direction and you've got people speeding up. So on the tax side, while your taxes are a little bit higher compared to some of the lower tax districts, they're not unreasonable. I think 25-27% is completely reasonable. The one dangerous combination that you have going for you right now is you've got a smaller district and very high land prices. So typically a larger district can get away with that 100% land price for a lot longer because its larger plots are more spread out. Because your district is a little bit smaller and stuff is more condensed and clustered together, that 100% is going to start impacting a larger portion of your land plots quicker than a district that's, let's say, 1,500 or 2,000 plots. So there probably is a point in time where the price of land becomes cost prohibitive just having somebody come in and build it. You're going to have somebody come in and buy land with a purpose that says, yes, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for this land here and now because of what I can do with it, because the utility and potential future value is there relative to just waiting for the next district to open. Because why should I come in and pay 10, 15, 20,000 Tron for a 2x2 site in 255 when the next district that's going to open, I could potentially buy a 2x2 site at the district opening for like 2, 3, 4,000 Tron. So you're going to have to play the game of how do you add value for your existing and potential future landowners to justify the cost of some of the more expensive land. And that's a balance that's very, very hard. I personally haven't even nailed that yet myself because land in 214 is extremely expensive now. So just be mindful of that 100%. There might come a point in time where you want to scale that back down to like 50 to 33 and then gradually ramp it back up as more people buy, as more people build. It's kind of like, I think, a little bit of a balancing act. But all in all, man, I think this is you've got a great thing going for you. You've established your passive income sources. You've got the ability to build a POI to further enhance and boost it. You've got more room that if you want to build more business centers. The one thing I wish I had done earlier on is started to build business centers, and I haven't done it yet. I kick myself in a bull market for not having done that. So definitely don't sell yourself short on building business centers in your own district. District offices, you can go one for one with somebody else builds one, you build one, totally. But when all is said and done, I think unless you personally know that there are massive plans for this district and people are going to come in and build a ton of megas, or until MCP gives us clear guidance on how, as a district owner, we're gonna profit from world actions occurring, your best bet is probably to turn lots of this land into business centers, because your cost to construct them, you're going to get 17% back. That's a big boost. Plus, every time you build a business center, you're creating highly valuable land for industrial production, residential buildings nearby. Kevin, the value add mentality also gives players, also plays into giving district owners more granular controls. Absolutely, right? So to Kevin's point, I think where he's going with this is the more controls and sliders and settings and policies that a district owner can set, the more they're able to create or develop a path to incremental value for everybody. So the case in point would be, like right now, I can really only incentivize or create value for new or existing landowners by setting favorable or unfavorable tax settings. The only real setting that I can change that's going to have a direct impact on the value of land is that land price setting, which I've gradually scaled up, because for me, I wanted to make sure that as many people had a chance to come in, buy into the vision, purchase their land, purchase around a landmark or on their own, give them plenty of time to go and acquire that land for their projects. And then every time I raise that setting from 50 to 75%, from 75 to 100, it's increasing the price of all the unsold plots. So it's artificially raising the floor on the price of unsold land, which in turn, if you can't buy a plot of land unsold for less than 3,000 Tron, why would you want to sell a plot on the secondary market for 1,500 Tron? You probably don't, right? So having the floor of your unsold continue to rise, whether it be organic or artificially, should help boost the value of all the currently purchased land, which means that those people who came in on the district opening and purchased plots for 300, 400, 500 Tron, heck, even 1,000 Tron, they should all be able to, in turn, sell that land for a profit. And I think the thing that I love the most about the story of what's going on in 214 is I would be hard-pressed to imagine that anybody that bought land in the first couple of weeks of the district opening has ever sold at a loss. And anybody who has sold at a loss probably bought very, very expensive land for a very specific purpose and then decided not to use that plot or that site and has in turn flipped it to somebody else. 383, 398. Let's check it out. A couple schools of thought on fair market price. All right. I must ask you a question. Love it. Okay, so there's a couple ways we could look at this, right? Out of the gate, for me, if I'm looking at this land and you're asking me if I want to buy it, so let's assess it through my eyes. No, I'm not a district owner. I'm just, hey, do you want to buy this land? Biggest challenge for me is it can't be expanded to a 2x2 site. I live and die by the philosophy of if it can't be built into a mega, it's not worth it. So for me, this site loses appeal because it can't go mega. However, that kind of goes out the door with World, right? So World, we don't really know what a 1x2, there's going to be a purpose for 1x2 versus 2x2. So microeconomy, this land loses value to me, but World and Metaverse, that loss might not necessarily be the same. So if we stick with the concept too of World and say, okay, we know for a fact that with World, I think there's less constraints about, like right now, you don't have any purpose for a 1x3 site to build a 1x3 building in the microeconomy. But in World, I think we're supposed to be able to. So while you can't make this wider, this site wider and go 2x2, you can go 1x4. And therefore, a 1x4 value should be fairly substantial in World. It's not going to have nearly any value in microeconomy compared to what it would have in World. So that would be something to consider. Then you could look at the nearby price of plots. You could say, okay, 9,500 for this one, 7,400 for this one, 13,000 for that one, 8,800 for this. So I think these were the plots you were talking about originally that you were saying like 10K. 10K is completely reasonable relative to what is going on nearby. The question that I would just have is somebody who's going to want this land, is that 10K going to be cost prohibitive relative to what they're doing? So if they're coming in saying, yeah, you know what, I really want to build I want to specifically build a level 6 office. If they don't care that it can't go to level 7, then beauty is in the eye of the beholder. If they only care about a 1x2, this is perfect for them. And the price of land nearby would suggest that, yes, something in the ballpark of between 6,000 to 10,000 feels completely appropriate if they have a very specific vision for that 1x2. Otherwise, you're probably talking about, if you were to like liquidate and sell it, probably not that high, not up to the 6,000 or 7,000. But a lot of it depends on what happens here, right? Because this could actually, in theory, this could be a valuable site for ATAN, right? If ATAN decides that they want to build a POI, one of these plots could be perfect for a POI because it's in range. This 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it doesn't touch both. I mean, there's purposes that it can serve for different strategies. Great question. Oh, actually, you know what? Here's the other purpose it can serve. Level 1 boosters, right? So again, similar to A10, even if he doesn't want it for POIs, this land is in range there. So this could be a perfect site where, again, probably not 10K, unless that's the value that A10 sees, but using this land as level 1 residentials to boost the IP of this building, they're going to see immediate return on that because their share of the district revenue is going to increase by having those built there. Oh, yeah, Eric, right there. Level 1 booster. Yep. So don't undervalue the potential value of those being booster sites. If I missed any questions, please feel free. Shoot them out again. I gotta get better at scrolling back up to see what I missed. Awesome. You know what? While we wait for more questions, I'm going to show you an example of, and HBizzle, I think this will be helpful for you, right? So if you as a district owner have acquired a bunch of random plots of land, and I'm going to share this because I think it's valuable for you yourself, but also for any future or current district owners. Here's something that we can do. So over in 214 that I own, I'm not trying to shamelessly plug 214. It's just easy for me to use because I can refer to it. So over here in 214, here's a great example. So we have this area over here. You've got energy nearby, and you've got some industrials that have been constructed. I own 3 plots of land here. This plot, this one, and this one. These plots of land, so I was going through very early on in the district, and I had a program where I offered 1,000 Tron for any plot of land. If you bought land in the district opening, I would give you 1,000 Tron for it. And what that did was it gave people a couple different options. If they bought it for less than 1,000, they had the ability for an immediate flip. And I would get the land, which was great because my whole thing was I wanted to make sure that random industrials didn't pop up in the wrong places. And cheap land usually leads to cheap level 1 industrials that don't follow zoning. And then also, I knew that at some point in time, it would be beneficial for me as a district owner to have plots of land all over the map, not to actually build microeconomy buildings on to operate them, but either for world or new types of buildings that could arise, which we saw happen with transportation. In this particular case, though, what I'm going to do, and I'll do it live, is get a bunch of industrials nearby, right? And great example is, I think this is Jericho. Jericho's got a level 6 mixing plant here. Ivan is just about to have a level 6. And you've got a couple level 1s here. So what I can do, let's check this out. So we'll use Jericho's as the example. So 26,250 IP. Jericho is benefiting from having other industrial around and other energy around. Industrial buildings are also helped by offices, whether it be a business center or an office block. Notice, though, that Jericho doesn't have any positive IP coming from offices because there aren't any offices around. So he's getting hit for 1,300 negative IP, but he doesn't have anything to offset that. So what I, as a district owner, can do is, and let's keep the 26,250 in mind here. So let me just jot this down, 2650. Okay. So what I'm going to do right here and now, this is a super cheap way that I can help not just Jericho, but literally everybody that owns land in this specific area. I'm going to build an office. I'm not going to staff it. I have no plans to ever staff it. But I'm going to build an office over here. And what's going to happen is, now that I've built this office, every single industrial building within an 11 by 11 range of this plot of land is going to have their IP increased. So whether you're a level 1 a level 2, a level 6, or a level 7, your IP is going to go up. All right, so 26,250, and here's a level 1, so we'll keep an eye on the level 1. 420 IP for this level 1. All right. Let's see. Not sure if the IP is going to recalculate. I mean, it did. Okay. So this person's level 1 mixing plant, who owns it? Ted. So Ted's mixing plant just went from 410 IP to 440. So almost a 10% increase. Jericho went from 26,250 to 27,250, right? And that's just one. Now I'm going to come in here and I can I'll build another business center. And all this is costing me, it's costing me the materials, and it's costing me 49 Tron. So, and I'm not losing plot. I can always go back and use this land for something in the future. But for right here and now, it's a really, really cheap way for me to be able to provide some additional value. Not just to people who have already bought the land and have constructed something, but this opens up other plots of land here too that says, hey, you know what? Like this area and this area is now even more ideal for industrial because there are offices around. So you don't have energy buildings nearby to help out, but you do have office buildings now. So we'll drop a building over here, and this building is going to help not just Ted stuff over here in this area. It's going to help Jericho, and it's also going to help Ivan. Right. Jericho is now up to 28,250. So right out of the gate, he's getting his stuff is higher. This plot from Ted is now up to 460 IP. And then the last one I can do is over here. And I'm going to add this one. And I hope this is actually in range of Pulsar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Damn it, it isn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, just out of range. Okay. So super, super simple. I already own the land. I didn't have to buy brand new land. The materials were super cheap. And all I've done is I've just transformed 3 plots that were previously unused and serving no purposes whatsoever to be able to add value to everybody nearby. Oh, and Jericho is here. You get to watch this live. So now, what you're going to have to do for me, Jericho, is we're going to keep an eye, right? Because you can actually check to see what Jericho's yield has been historically. So before these buildings were constructed, getting 506 sand. Okay, so 506 sand when his base IP was 26,000. His base IP is now 29,000. So that should have an impact on his overall yield. So I'm not sure, Jericho, if you're collecting today or tomorrow. In 22 minutes. Oh, perfect. Okay, when you collect, let me know what your yield is. It'll be a nice live example of exactly how, with very, very, very little loss of value for me, I'm able to create value for Jericho, and hopefully we see a meaningful enough impact. And what we'll do is, when he collects in 22 minutes, you're going to see what the change in his yield was. So it's going to go from 506 sand up to something else. And the thing is, because it's a level 6, it's collecting every 2 days. And therefore, he's going to get about 182 collections out of that building a year. So we can multiply, let's say if he gets another 20 sand, we can multiply that 20 sand by 182. And that's the amount of incremental sand that Jericho's going to get over the course of a year from that building, just because we added those 3 IP boosting buildings, right? And we can actually create a tangible value of how much value was just created there. Man, we couldn't have timed that any better, Jericho. First, that you were here, and second, that your collection is right here now. I'm really glad there wasn't like a whole bunch of questions before that, because we would have completely missed the collection window. All right, so example there, HBizzle, for you or for any other district owner who's looking at it, or even landowners. If you're in a district and you see land nearby that's owned by somebody that you know and you can contact them, just reach out and say, hey, listen, if I flip you some of the materials, can you build a certain level 1 building here to improve my IP? Yeah, Kevin, I know. Yeah, Jericho, with a grain of salt, at some point in time, MCP is gonna drop something on our heads, and those level 1 plots might be useful for something. So I'm gonna try to keep them up as long as is humanly possible. I don't think any of these were reserved for bus stops. Actually, this one might have been. I think I was tinkering with either this plot or, yeah, I think this was the one. This one over here. Yeah, I think we were trying to figure out, because I bought a plot of land right over here, which was going to be for a bus station. So it might not be, but yes, Kevin's it's a great point. At some point in time, there's going to be a ton of things that you can do with land, and IP boosters may not necessarily be the most valuable use at some point down the road. Great call out. Yeah, and Kevin, with the municipals, I think based off of what we've heard from MCP, there's kind of this concept of like municipals providing protection, right? Which makes sense, right? If there's a disaster or storm in the area, you could position municipals. I mean, and Eric's going to provide a whole bunch of examples of other ways. I'm not saying it's one or the other, but like one potential use is you would want to have municipals in a certain area, because if a fire, if there's a disaster in the district and it's a fire, maybe all buildings that are not in range of a fire station take some damage, and therefore you would have to create missions to have free-to-plays go and repair, or you have to purchase materials to repair it. Exactly, like district infrastructure, the public works, all that stuff. Yeah, and that's why I love having land all around my district. Like, I bought a whole bunch of 2x2 sites, especially in this area. But it serves its purpose, because, like, Bizzle, you're here. Don't underestimate the value of having a whole bunch of single plots dispersed around your district, because there's going to come a point in time, whether it's building a bus stations or building custom building or something, you're going to benefit from having those different touch points across the district. For me personally, I'm transforming a whole bunch of my single plots into bus stops, which will hopefully save people from having to build their own bus stops. Plus, now I don't have to go and buy a whole bunch of brand new land specifically for bus stops. I already own it. Yeah, Eric, I mean, that's right, because like we talked about wanting to have resource sinks, and at the time, we didn't know what was going on with custom buildings or how much they were going to cost or anything like that. So the logical thing became like maintenance and upkeep, and that was going to create some level of consistent resource sink. Whereas if we try to like put our hats on, say there's ways to build and evolve the game where it doesn't feel like a force fit, but it's a lot more like practical and realistic. Something like that, where if you're in proximity to a certain building, it offers some level of protection, where maybe you don't have to come out of pocket for something if a certain event occurs. Resource sinks do suck for people with a lot of land. Yep. A lot of land and a lot of buildings. Yep. I love it when Eric says, as soon as I read this comment that says, that actually sounds better than routine maintenance. As soon as I saw actually sounds better, I was immediately happy. I like it when Eric agrees with me on something. Jericho, I don't know if I have a feeling that Ted does watch and pay attention. If you noticed when we announced in the Discord that we had accumulated enough materials for the metro station, Ted did acknowledge, he did react to it. So Ted's there and pays attention. By the way, I'm trying to find out from MCP what the lag time is, because I do want to do, as you can see, I've got 15,000 bricks, 5,000 glass, and 1,000 concrete that is just itching to be transformed into a metro station right over here. I want to live stream it. but I want to make sure that I don't have you guys come into a live stream, build a metro station, then try to jump into Mega World to go to 214 and not have the metro station actually be there. So I'm going to find out from them, hopefully, what logistics of that will look like, and then we'll set something up so we can do a deep dive into 214, a little live ribbon cutting ceremony, if you will. All right. You guys, if you guys have any questions for HBizzle too, don't be shy. Make sure while you have them here, you can ask questions. For anybody who's going to watch this on playback too, again, just HBizzle's name in Discord is HBizzle. You'll see him posting in the 255 chat channel. If you own land in 255, make sure you check out that channel. Make sure you contact HBizzle. That would be beneficial to everybody. Eric, what was the general gist of what you were talking about earlier with regards to municipals and commercials? Because it seemed like you got hit with a lot of inspiration. Yeah, finally. I told you, as time permits, we'll get there. Oh, and so while Eric's typing in chat, HBizzle, feel free to hit me up as well if you want to talk about zoning or anything else like that. I can share. I did some just some quick stuff in PowerPoint and created PDFs and posted that in my channels just so people could see, like, here's what the plan is, here's what we're trying to create. Oh, no sweat. It is your birthday, so it's cool. No sweat. All good, buddy. It's on playback too, so you can always check it out. And I did set up a YouTube channel. I will be uploading all of these videos to YouTube, so as they expire on Twitch, they'll go onto YouTube where they will be preserved forever. I'm actually not going to be uploading my Ethereum strategy video. That's going to be a special just for the people who watched it live or watched it on playback. It is now gone forever. So the only people who will know my Ethereum strategy are the people who watch that or have in some way, shape, or form inferred it. Okay. Let's see what Eric's got. All right. Instead of a residential breeding a citizen, an ambulance controlled by free-to-play player would drive the expectant couple to a hospital. Larger level hospital would have a higher chance for twins. This would create utility for an ambulance, maybe a mission. Ooh, I love that, Eric. So not only, and you could potentially also have the IP or something to do with the hospital impact the outcome of that breed, right? So now you're not just basing your breed based off of the residential building and the citizens in it, but there's this other factor and variable at play. That's really cool. Just the thought of really requiring two buildings to work together to create something is interesting. That doesn't happen currently. Plus, your point about the mission of citizen from here to there to get a result. That opens the door to a mission for a free-to-play player. You're creating value for them. They're creating value from the economy. It's not just a thing where there's a point-and-click action and we're done. There's actual gameplay. There's immersive gameplay behind the action, which is key. And what I also you talk about, like needing a vehicle, the vehicle needing something to run, so you've got some more resource sinks there. That's really cool. Future hospital would take more gas or stamina, entice people to build. Oh, interesting. Right, put the hospital close. Oh, and then, yeah, so Kevin, to your point earlier, you're going to say that you're going to need municipals in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, build municipals right near a residential zone so that as people breed, that process takes much less time and energy because it's right there. And hospital gets a delivery fee for the breed. I love that. Oh, I love that. That's phenomenal. That is an awesome idea. And that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about the municipal buildings is you don't actually have to find like this. You don't have to force fit this redesign for them to become relevant. You just have to think about, okay, with the assets we have in gaming, the buildings we have, what's the logical like progression and evolution of these buildings to serve an actual purpose versus being force fitted with a purpose. I love that. Druid, can I do a video in the future on corporations? Yeah, so we can definitely spend some time talking about corporations. For me, so I have a corporation on the Ethereum side and the Tron side that I don't actually use. I just use it to reserve the MROM name. I think in the context of corporations, so I'm not going to be super helpful about the mechanics of corporations, but definitely there are people in here who can, so we could discuss that. I think the interesting thing with corporations is not just their use and utilization today, but the role they can potentially play in the future. So I'd love to have another conversation about the scholar model and free to play and the role that corporations can play in all of that. Because Slat shared a really, really good article. I'm actually going to, it's right here. Let me grab that and put this in chat. This is a really, really cool article that Slats had shared on this other project, Avagachi, which I don't know anything about, but they show how they're bringing to life a scholar model, and I love like the visualizations, the way they explain it. It's done really, really well. So like check that article out, read it, and then put on your MCP cap and think about, okay, this is the way that they're doing it. You kind of know how Axie's doing it. The sky is truly the limit for what MCP can do with their version of the scholar model. Right, and to Eric's point, you've got it's not just municipals. You've got the factory and your production buildings. They can start producing other materials besides the appliances they currently produce. So an engine, a door, different components, which currently you can't actually select which appliance you're creating. It's created based off of the IP of the building and the stats of your citizens. Whereas if you were to take a factory, you could say, I actually want to select specifically what I want to produce. You could do that. Press switch to here. No problem, Drew. I'm glad you brought that up. I completely forgot about it. But yeah, corporations, I think corporations, what they are today versus what they're going to be in the future, are going to be two very, very, very different things, because there's so much that MCP can do with that corporate entity, especially when we think about how it can be used to manage things, whether it's rentals, scholars, anything like that. HBizzle, what should I do in 255 to get more people in? Okay, so let's jump back to 255. I think there's a couple things we can do. So let's check this out. 255. All right. So let's start with the basics. Most important, or I guess the most visible thing that people usually look at is going to be your taxes and your policies. Right out of the gate here, there's nothing about your policies that are challenging or off-putting. So your production taxes here, these are all very reasonable. If the economy were to take off and speed ups become profitable again, what I would personally suggest is exploring bringing these taxes as low as possible, specifically for energy and production and industrial, because if you can make those speed ups profitable for people, they're spending 50 times the amount to collect in a speed up as they would normally. And therefore, your cut of that, if you normally get 1 Tron every time somebody collects from an industrial building, you would now get 50 Tron instead of 1. So it's a huge, huge boost for you. So production taxes, keep an eye on that stuff, specifically as the economy takes off. Right now, usually these taxes don't have that big of an impact. The place that you might want to look at is, as a district owner, one of the best sources of revenue from just collection taxes, non-speed up, is residential. So your residential tax, which Andy and Max cracked a couple weeks ago, it actually does play a pretty large role, because if you're breeding, the breed cost is quite expensive. At a level 7, it's even more expensive. So it actually does play like a 25-30% tax on residential collection is fairly substantial. So I would look to potentially try to bring that down and draw in residential developers. But I think these other taxes, you're in pretty good shape. Your construction taxes, right now, you're probably wasting your tax points or distribution on having low municipal taxes. There really isn't any substantive reason for somebody to build municipal buildings in your district or in any district right here and now, and definitely not a higher level building. So you could potentially jack municipal taxes up to 80, 100%, and you're probably not going to piss off anybody. You should do so assuming that at some point in time you're going to need to bring them down, but temporarily bring them up so you can bring other stuff down. If you are personally building energy, like if there aren't a whole bunch of people who are building energy buildings, you can probably keep your energy taxes here. The one thing that I think I've done differently in 214 than pretty much every other district owner, with the exception of a handful, is my office construction taxes are 5%. And the reason why I have my office construction set at 5% is I committed to not building any district offices in my district. In my mind, that fund is for the people who invest in the district. So I think that in the long term, it's in my best interest that, as an example, Sebaseat comes in and builds a handful of megas. Bevins comes in and builds a handful of megas into 14 industrial and residential. I would love for them to then also build a district office into 14, so that as they produce and as they upgrade and construct, they're getting a portion of those funds right back through their office, which further incentivizes them to continue building into 14. If you have a district office in a district, it makes more sense for you to build in that district versus building somewhere else where you don't have the office. So the office is tricky because you want to preserve the fund for yourself so you can continue to invest in the district. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it can be used to incentivize people to build more. And what you actually get is you make up for it on the back end through the revenue you get from construction taxes and election taxes, plus the sale of more land. So something to keep in mind there. And then the other thing is going to be, for me personally, I want my district just full of offices, especially business centers. Because the second that somebody builds an office, whether it's a level 1 or a level 7, a business center or a district office block, immediately that 11 by 11 area around it start to become a lot more valuable, because now that land is more valuable for residential, it's more valuable for industrial, it's more valuable for production buildings, because they have an office building nearby that can boost their IP and output. So having a district that is incentivizing office construction, I think personally has really helped create a whole bunch of high value, high IP areas in 214. So if you were to ever consider switching your office policy to one that's more about incentivizing construction, and you could even say, hey, listen, like I'm gonna bring my office taxes down to 5-10%. However, I'm just gonna give you the heads up that if somebody builds a level 7 district office, I'm going to match you. And you can do that and still incentivize people to build business centers. So in your case, you want to get people to build business centers. You probably want to avoid having a whole bunch of people build district offices. Unfortunately, you can't control one or the other. It's going to have to be everybody understanding, listen, I don't want you to waste money on a district office because I plan to do whatever I can to preserve the highest percent of the fund. And then, so as far as the district fund goes, so one of the things that you've done, which makes total sense, is your fund distribution is set to 30 days, which means your fund's going to drain much quicker. So if somebody's looking to build an office here, this setting right now is telling me this district owner is trying to extract as much of his fund out as quickly as possible. which is good, right? It's good if you're looking to unlock that value personally. It's probably not the best policy if you're trying to create a larger district fund to get more people to build offices. So your 100% tax or your very high construction tax coupled with your 30-day distribution policy is perfect. I would definitely keep that way if you were planning on continuing down the path that you're on. You've got a 1% insurance fund, which is good because right now there's no reason to incentivize a whole bunch of municipals to come in and take advantage of your insurance fund. That will probably change in the future, but the combination of 1% insurance with 30-day payout and high office construction taxes, you're good if you're trying to protect that fund. Besides that, honestly, the only thing I would just look at, I would look at the initial land prices. And the best gauge of this is going to be just keep an eye on your report. Are people still buying unsold land? At the point where people stop buying unsold land, that's usually the part where you're going to start to not hurt, but you're going to start to feel it. Because for me personally, everything that I've built in 214 has come from people buying land or building buildings. So I've used that to fund my journey. At some point, those land sales are going to stall out on you, and you're going to lose that source of revenue. So I would personally keep a very close eye on your initial land prices, and that would be the first thing that I would potentially change. Is I think there's probably two things you could do almost immediately without changing your strategy. Bring your land plot prices down in conjunction with presenting a zoning plan that tells people, listen, for the next, even if it's just 30 days, for the next 30 to 60 days, I'm going to bring my land prices down from 100 to 33. They're going to go back up to 100 in 60 days. So this is your window. If you want land in 255, here's a zoning plan as to where we're going to optimize our IP as a community. And you've got 60 days to buy as much land as you want for as cheap as possible, because in 60 days, it's going to go back up to 50, 75, 100%. That should catalyze and get people who are in the community who are serious about building in 255 to come in and buy that land and start to really focus and pay attention to what they're doing in 255. And the more new districts that open, the more that land price is going to become debilitating. So I was lucky when 215 opened. We had some very, very slow staggering of new districts. If the next new Tron District opens in 1 to 2 months, or people know there's another district that's going to be opening very soon, they're probably not going to spend 5, 6, 7,000 Tron on a plot of land when they know that they can get pretty much the same plot of land, for 3, 4, 500 Tron if they wait a month or two. Andy, how did I do that whole district view? You go into, so down here at the very bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you click Info on the district, and sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, but it automatically pops up this view. So you've got that, and you can actually go in, if you go to actually, you know what, it's not this one. Go into the district panel. You can right-click and save the image of the district, which strips out all of the extra, like the water and stuff like that. So if you were trying to build like a little map, which is what I've done in PowerPoint, if you're trying to build a little map and a zoning plan, right-click, save the image, and then just go into PowerPoint and add the image right to PowerPoint, and you don't have all of the extra water and blue borders. And that looks like what? 2. So 233 has been won but hasn't been opened yet. And then 238 has a bid of 250,000. I'm not sure if that's Yakub or somebody else, but in theory, what's going to happen is you've got two more districts that could open in rapid succession, which is going to put pressure on your land prices. Yeah. Oh. Okay, yeah. Hey, it's bold, right? It's bold. It should, Andy. It should change to the bird's eye view. Give it a little time. Otherwise, yeah, you can collage them together, but it's going to be very, very tricky. I would honestly, I think if your zoomed out view doesn't work, just go district panel, click right over here, right click, save image, and then it's gonna save it, and you can bring that right into a screen, and you can expand it. The ratio should be locked, so you should be able to make it larger and still preserve without too much pixelation. 500. Okay, so you still get 506 sand, Jericho. Okay, so on the next collection. Okay. All right, that would make sense. All right, so experiment hasn't failed. We still need another 48 hours to check in. That's interesting though that the IP, because if that's true, then what that would say is that your IP or your yield is locking itself in based on the time that your timer starts. So whatever your IP is when your cycle begins, you're locked into that until the cycle resets. That's what I thought too, Eric. That they were calculated upon collecting. Interesting. Awesome. And I just got MCP. Thank you for the note. I just got the note. So the good news is when you build a metro station, it should appear almost instantly in World, which is great news. So that means that next weekend we can do a live ribbon cutting of the District 214 metro station, followed by some Mega World gameplay, and that's gonna be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. I think of all of the accomplishments and things that I've done in MCP, like I still get the same sense of like excitement and enthusiasm when I build a mega today as I did the very first one. But the metro station, like just finding ways to accumulate all of those materials and the land, it was a community effort, but B, like that was a crazy amount of capital that needed to be collected and deployed for this project. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes, the estimated material collection. That's a good question, Yeti. So the mystical Yeti corn, I'm just going to look for every single reason on the planet to say that the full name. The mystical Yeti corn asks, what would you say a metro would cost from scratch, materials and all? So we can actually check this out. Let's, I'll keep a little tally here. So we know it's going to cost if we set aside, forget about like the price of land. Let's assume you already have the land. We are going to need 15,000 brick. It's not going to be perfect because this is a swap in versus a swap out. So let's call it 445 mega for the brick, 15,000 brick. Then you're going to need 5,000 glass, which is going to be 256 mega approximately. And then let's not forget the 1,000 concrete, 277 mega. All right, so that's going to bring us to right about 978 mega. Let's give or take because of taxes and all that stuff. And if we look at the current price of Tron Mega is 79.72 Tron. 978 times 70, we say 79.72, 79.72, 78,000 Tron. Yep. So 78,000 Tron, if it is actually the 978 mega, you probably need more than that because as you purchase it, your exchange rate's going to become less favorable. So whereas this is based off of going into the vault, where you're it's getting less favorable for you to swap in. When you're extracting, it's getting less favorable for you to swap out. So it's probably going to be over 100 mega, 1,000 mega that you would need. So it's at the bare minimum, 80,000 Tron plus whatever you need for the land. Yeah, it's a killer, that cost. Because think about, like, Yeti, like, I had my whole thing was I was working on this big industrial compound over here, and I had gotten up to I had my level 6 mixer, I had my level 6 smelter, I had the land all set aside to go mega on all of these buildings, and I had to stop doing all of that stuff specifically because I needed to now focus all of my time, attention, resources to get 1,000 mega worth of materials to construct the metro station. That 1,000 mega would have, and the cost, the 80,000 cost alone, would have been enough for me to build almost 3 megas in 2.14 for me to use myself. You're gonna need another district to support the district. Yeah. Yeah, like Noblest said, I'm swapping in the wrong way, so it's going to be more, because to swap to put concrete in 1,000 concrete maybe gives you 275, but to take it out is going to cost you to Noblest's point like 305. So it's at least 1,000 mega. It's actually probably going to be closer to 1,100 mega when it all said and done. Jericho, you give me your honest opinion. Do you think I can reach level 7 mixer before World? Would depend on the district. So the great thing right now, and I know lots of people complain about the cost of Tron. It's not the cost of Tron, the cost of Mega, or the price of Mega. And it's a challenge on both worlds. The Tron side has been hit hard. The Ethereum side has been hit hard as well. Because if you take the dollar amount out and you just look at the price compared to the base currency, Ethereum Mega sits right around, I think, 0.005 Ethereum per meg, which is a brutally low number. Like, that is not ideal. It's still highly profitable, don't get me wrong, but it's not ideal. And on the Ethereum side, the price of Ethereum has shot up, reached like massive new all-time highs. Tron has not. So the good thing is, if you're playing on the Tron map, you're able to take advantage of a couple things right now. One is the cost of capital. While it's still expensive at around 10 cents per Tron, you're not dealing with that relative all-time high of Ethereum. Plus, you've got this perfect storm too, where the price of materials in the vault, because of the price of Tron Mega being so low, it's the perfect time that if you believe in the game long term, to be stocking up on those materials and that Mega, so you can get those materials out now. Because if that price goes from 80 Tron per Mega to 160, the cost for you to build a Mega at that point just doubled. So I think, Jericho, the biggest thing for you, the challenge is going to be, it's not so much going to be the materials, it's going to be the land. Right, because the 2 remaining plots of land you're going to need for this to go level 7 are not cheap. Oh yeah, Mythical, that'd be awesome. Yep. So you've got the ability to collaborate much more, so that you can assign. Well, I guess it's kind of like, again, using the corporation function. If you could assign a building to a corporation and distribute the yield from it to the corporation fund or to other players, that would be awesome. Well, Jericho, the nice thing too is that this land doesn't serve Ted any good, right? Ted can't use this to build a Mega. Depending on what Ted's aspirations are, Ted's also probably not going to want to, because he's got so much land in 2.14. He's not going to want to buy the land nearby either, because there's no reason for him to spend 10,000 Tron on another random plot of land when he already has 300 random plots of land. So it really only holds value to you or whoever owns that mixer plan. So there should be no reason why a deal can't be reached there. And I think Ted's been really reasonable with a lot of this stuff. I know that at first there were some challenges, but all these buildings that are nearby, Ted put up to help show me. So I have confidence that as more becomes clearer with World, I think I'm confident that the plots of land that people need, that Ted has, he's not going to price gouge. And the good thing too is his overhead on this stuff. It's not like he bought these plots of land for 2, 3, 4, 5,000 Tron. They were much cheaper. Oh really, Hustler? 297, 217. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 Tron seems to be right around between like 1,000 and 1,500 seem to be his threshold at district openings to not buy beyond that. Oh, interesting. I wonder what the allure of that site is. I'm glad to see. Selfishly, I'm glad to see him wanting to buy more land in 214. That's good. But I suppose, Hustler, if he set the price of that land to be 1,000, then there should be no shouldn't take any sort of insult if people are offering him 1,000 for a plot of land. Yeah, can you imagine going through those offers every single day? He's got to be getting hundreds. Although I'm sure it's probably slowed down pretty substantially. But yeah, during district openings, I'm sure he was getting a ton of offers. And the cool thing too, you can actually on Metaverse Max, you can see the offers that somebody has put in and received on the Tron side. It's not available on the Ethereum side, but Lenny's Metaverse Max site has the ability to do that. It's really cool. So you can see what other people are offering Ted. You can also see what Ted has accepted in the past. And if you look at the history, you can see like he used to accept like 1,000, 1,500 Tron for land. But as the price of land in Dubai got more and more expensive, I think rightfully so, his perception of value increased as well. Yeah, I can link that for you. Uno momento, por favor. Ooh, that's more Spanish I know, but didn't really realize I know. Oh, Max is all over it. Max is all over it. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, the Metaverse Max, which is not this Max, it's Lenny Dark Tech. That's his site. Lenny's built that. It is an awesome tool. I'm personally really excited for the day that becomes available on the Ethereum side, because it's very helpful. You get to understand the impact of your citizens, the efficiency, and all that stuff. Actually, let's take a quick look. Here it is. All right. So what you can do here is we'll go to, hey, you know what? Bizzle's here. It's his birthday. Let's check out 255. So it retains all this information on tax history. You can see what the price to collect and the price to construct is for all this stuff. Plus, it goes in and it captures all the landowners. So what this shows us is who are the largest landowners in 255, how many plots do they own, for each type of building, how many have they constructed, and it gives you this really great view as to who is your community. So you get a feel for who are your largest landowners, of the land that is owned, how many are actually being used for something, and what purpose are they serving. And what you can also do is if you come in here and you click on the person's name, now you can see that portfolio. So I think Bizzle, I think these are yours. Yeah. So this is you. So you can come in here and you get a couple things. So one, heads up, because it looks like one or more of your citizens in your offices are approaching a low stamina. So you can make sure you restore them. But what you can do is there's let me see if I can find your energy building here. It goes in and it checks to see what your history of collections are. And this is going to tell you what your actual efficiency is, not just on your IP, but also your citizens. So it's going to give you the ability to look in and say, okay, my collection is X% effective, and it's X% effective because my IP is lower or because my citizens aren't all that great. So that's cool. And then you can go in here, what we were talking about with Pet and the, not Pet, with TED and different offers, is you can actually come in here and click on active offers, and it will allow you to see the offers that have been made to this person and then what they've agreed on as well. Yes. You can click on the citizens, and then this right here you can sort. So this would tell you, HBizzle, you've got two different buildings that have some stamina. Oh, actually, you're not going to get anything. So you got to go in here. I would do it right now if you can. Both your business center and your district office have at least one citizen that is completely out of stamina, so you're not going to accumulate anything until you restore them. And to Eric's point, there was a way, I think, oh, right over here. Yeah, for you to see all the citizens. Yeah, I think this is the citizen view you were talking about, Eric. So, rates, efficiency. I mean, this thing is, it's absolutely amazing. So, check it out, and then poke them. See if we can get this on the Ethereum side too. So, Eric, I just kind of picking up where we left off before. I love the way that you were looking at kind of reimagining municipals, commercials, and all that stuff. Because when all is said and done, I don't think anybody here actually wants something to become a requirement if there isn't an actual purpose or reason behind it. And the more logical and practical that purpose is, the more realistic the game becomes. And the more realistic the game becomes, the more people will want to play. And realism is going to be critical, especially as we start thinking about wanting free-to-play players to come in and play a role in building the economy and building the world. You see more and more free play and earn or play-to-earn games that are going to adopt that scholar model. So where Axie has the lead right now, because there hasn't been anybody else that has had this model, all these other games are going to come in, they're going to build and adapt that model to suit their needs. And what you will probably see is not that the interest in Axie will wane, but people all over the globe that are trying to get into these programs are now going to have multiple games that they can go to. And therefore, you're going to have every single time a new game comes along and develops and deploys this model, it's going to force every other game out there to raise the stakes on their side as well and continue to make it as immersive and practical and realistic and profitable as possible. Yeah, and Eric, what I love about your ideas too, and you presenting and sharing them, is it's inspiration, right? So the key in us sharing our ideas here, I don't think anybody is suggesting, hey, you know what? I actually know exactly what is perfect or best. This is the only solution. This is the only thing that will work. When you share your ideas in a constructive and productive manner, you share an idea about a factory, and 3 other people that read that idea, now all of a sudden their head, like, they start thinking about it in a similar manner. And maybe they don't expand on the factory idea, but they take the concept you talked about for factory and they apply it to commercial, they apply it to municipal or industrial buildings, all that stuff. Jericho, I think, so what was it? Killa bought the new district, the really small one. The other district that's currently at auction, I thought Yakub kind of like might have poked and said that he had placed a bid, but I'm not positive. But we haven't heard from Killa when he's planning or when they're planning on opening it. It's strange because usually somebody who comes in and buys a district who's brand new to the game tries to open it immediately. So I'm not sure. Yeah, Eric, one of my greatest fears is the introduction of a new energy-based or resource material. I love it. I think there should be that concept of like oil or something in the game. It does immediately though cause me a little anxiety and stress because I've used all of my resource plots for energy and water. but I think that would be awesome. We have to find those resource plots should be just insanely expensive because it's the only truly finite material in the game. Even citizens' breeding points, while they are finite, supposedly we're going to be able to restore those stamina points with some special buildings. Rigs in the middle of the neighborhood, yeah. I suppose you could also always open it up so that's not dependent on resources. Yep. Yeah, I like that. I'd also really love to see, I think, the concept that you brought up with municipals and residentials and one playing a role in the other. I think they have a chance to do something really, really special and awesome with landmarks as well. Because if we're going to be able to fit super appliances to landmarks, even though I produce a ton of energy and would love for there to be huge demand for energy, and the last thing I want is for any buildings to require less energy to collect, wouldn't it be pretty awesome if your landmark, if you could attach a solar panel to your landmark, and that solar panel would provide X amount of energy for any building within a certain range or radius of that landmark. I think there's stuff that they could do with that and with other buildings that would get people more focused on building together and zoning versus just building stuff randomly all over the place. Well, Eric, it wouldn't just be driving an expecting couple, right? That ambulance needs to bring 10 couples from the building to the hospital. Nobla says, my biggest fear is that MCP is trying to do too many things or thinks too much of the world. Take another year to launch it. The moment is now, and that works for people who are asking for it. Yep. Yeah, the challenge I think that's gonna happen is there's no longer a shortage of developers or people who are wanting to break into the space. So everybody has an idea. We've already seen it occur with, I think there was, what was it like, Cryptopolis. Somebody came and built a game called Cryptopolis, right? And it's knocking on the door of this and other games. So there are going to be knockoffs that come around. And when all is said and done, the opportunity that MCP is going to have when they do turn on that marketing is, it's actually not so much about metaverse. It is metaverse, but it's the fact that this is the only game on the planet that is developing a metaverse that has been in development with proven gains and proven growth over the last 3 years. And you've got a metaverse that's going to be integrated and sit on top of a fully functioning, working, proven economy. And that's what ultimately I think they're going to have to focus on as they market. It's not going to be Market World or MegaCryptoPolis. It's going to be, this is a fully immersive metaverse built on top of a working economy where players are working together to build the world, and everything you do serves a purpose or function. It's not like, and I don't mean to pick on Decentraland because I don't fully understand it, but it's not like you just logging into World and hanging out in an art gallery. It's so much more than that. You're performing jobs, you're going on missions. You yourself, as a free-to-play player, are building the city. I don't think that occurs in Sandbox or Decentraland. I could be mistaken, but even if it does, it doesn't happen to near the depth that it could happen in this game. Yeah. So that's, yeah, the Farsight and Mega World. I mean, the nice thing is when we look at what the Farsight team is doing, we see that if Supernova is the lead or the studio for both projects, whatever we see happen on Farsight, you should feel confident that if that needs to occur on the MCP side, it will, right? Because you've got the same brains or similar brains working to cross-pollinate between those two projects. I definitely would love to see a lot more push on the MCP side, at least on Twitter with like original content. But I think what they've proven to us is they seem to be very excited to leverage, share, and amplify our content, which is different, right? It's not better, it's not worse, it's different. But what happens is now when you go on Twitter and you search for MegaCryptoPolis, the cool thing is, as much as you'd love to see MCP themselves posting a whole bunch of original stuff, when you search for MegaCryptoPolis on Twitter, you are just inundated with all this gameplay and content that's come from the players in the community, which, when all is said and done, speaks volumes. So it's interesting. Bevins, with the MCP here, could we ask them about the issue of a mission being undertaken but not complete? If a mega needed 20 missions a day, for example, what happens if those 20 people disconnect before finishing any mission? Oh, so that's a great. I'm glad, Bevins. I'm glad you brought that back up because you mentioned that. I meant to cover it. So, like, I guess since it's my stream, I can answer the question, subjectively. But personally, the way that I was thinking about ensuring that doesn't happen is, there wouldn't necessarily be like you're accepting a mission and then you go and do it. It's just a mission. So first come, first serve. So somebody's not tying something up where I go in, kind of like a GTA where you go, you accept a mission, and there's a timer or anything like that. It would just be, hey, I need you to come to this building, perform this action, and the first person that does it, or the first 20 people who do it, will receive X as a reward. So that might be one way to ensure that there's not this place or risk of somebody accepting a mission but then not finishing it. It's a great question, though. There's dynamics that you're going to have to work out and the mechanics of missions to ensure that you don't have a whole bunch of lost opportunities from people just going around robo-collecting a whole bunch of missions or accepting them and not performing them. Oh, yeah, I like that, Hustler. Yeah, so Supernova Games, very similar to Gala Games in terms of being able to be a large gaming studio that comes out with multiple games, all feeding off of one ecosystem. And what work, the playbooks that are developed for one could be deployed or adapted for another. So as you test and learn on one, it serves as a great foundation to use for the other. Yep, no, for sure. It's funny because as much as I would love for them to just be focused on one game, there's cross-pollination, not just from the subject matter expertise and intellectual property of MCP versus Farsight, but also the player community as well. Yeah, World, I would love that, Bevins. World, so if Supernova developed an entire suite of games all utilizing World, and that's what's cool about just the branding of the token. The token is called World, right? So like Axie has SLP, which is Smooth Love Potion. It's definitely a memorable name, but you can't just take like it wouldn't feel right to have a whole bunch of games that are all powered by SLP unless they were all pretty much identical. Whereas World would just be a token that is used across all of Supernova's products. That would be really cool. I mean, there's your inherent value for why you would need it. Oh, and if they ever had, I'm not a passive income person. I've actually this bull run has been really, really interesting to me because I'm so risk adverse that I've just naturally assumed that anytime I'm getting ready to buy something or bring more money in, that's the top. And I've watched so many people make so much money buying NFTs and doing all this other stuff, and I've been focused on MCP. And I really like it because I know that everything that I have in my portfolio now, I didn't just like randomly get lucky. I didn't buy something and flip a whole bunch of stuff. I built with a purpose. But if I could go back and do one thing differently, I would have bought some Gala nodes for sure. So if MCP was to ever do something like that for World, better believe that I'd be snatching those nodes up. Hustler. Yep. See, and Hustler, what was strange too is in my mind, I thought about investing in anything else as this opportunity cost. Because hey, you know what? If I've got this $1,000 or one Ethereum sitting on the sidelines, why would I go and buy X, Y, and Z in some other game or this other thing and risk it becoming illiquid or losing value when I could just take that one Ethereum and buy more land or continue constructing buildings? And what I missed out on was the ability to like say, hey, you know what? Like, I'll like imagine if day 2 of Bored Ape, Bored Ape Yacht Club, I went in and spent 1 Ethereum on one right now. I would probably be sitting on 15 Ethereum right now. Same thing, Eric, me and you talked day and night for a while about party degenerates, and we all know that like with everything that's been going on, like that initial launch, everybody seemed to be like in an uproar, but Danny delivers. He's not going to risk his reputation on a single collection without knowing that it's going to be a killer. 30 ETH. Oh my gosh. 30 ETH. I'm also a little jaded because I'm fairly certain that almost all these projects are just pumped up because you've got a whole bunch of people with money who all get together to say, that's the project. We're buying that one. Like CryptoPunks, Bored Ape Yacht Club, like there's just there are kingmakers in the space, and if you're not in on the know, if you don't have that alpha, then what you're hoping for is you're buying into something where you're hoping that enough people are going to continue sweeping the floor for a long enough period of time to grow value so that you can sell. Because I see so many people who are buying NFTs that are buying it because of the like for speculative purposes versus like sense of ownership. Cyber aliens, Kevin. I think cyber aliens was that's the reason why I stopped buying NFTs. The first time the NFT market slowed down, I think we saw a whole bunch of creators who were revealed for just being somebody who was trying to capitalize. Yep. So many things they could have done. I left that server. I think I said something like, all right, well, thanks for this tax write-off, man. I appreciate it. Andy, on a larger scale, someone asked me the other day, is MCP a zero-sum economy? Sand, Gala, Axie, where do they grow value to pay back the prize? That's a great question. I think depending on who you ask, there would be some people that would say yes, it's zero-sum. Others would say no. What I would just offer up is the world in and of itself not zero-sum in some manner, right? You can talk about, people throw around the word Ponzi and zero-sum and all that stuff, but when all is said and done, life itself is zero-sum. Energy is created and transferred, but in order for energy to be deployed in one place in the universe, it has to come from something else. And there's a finite amount of substance in our universe. So the same should hold true. The question is, with whether it's a game or life, how is the team developing the project, adding additional utility and incremental value? Because even buying land in real life, like real estate right now, it's somebody's buying a house. It's because somebody is selling a house. Somebody's building a house. It's because somebody is bought land. Everything is a give or take. It's not zero. It's they can print endless amounts of money, but when all is said and done, life itself. I'm not talking about currency. I'm saying life itself. There are boundaries that we cannot go beyond unless there are certain puts and takes. And printing money always seems to work really, really well in the long term, huh? I hope this has been helpful. Yeah, deep thoughts. No, see, these are the thoughts that will start to get me in trouble, because ultimately I try to be as non-polarizing as possible now, because quite frankly, I'm just sick and tired of people with different opinions thinking that because we don't have the same opinion, we must be in disagreement and we're enemies. Just because you say the sky is blue and I say the sky is green doesn't mean that we should hate each other. And it doesn't mean that the sky is any less blue because I think it's green. And you think the sky is blue doesn't make it any less green to me. I genuinely, I just wish that not just this community, but all communities would spend more time realizing that opinions are just that. Your investment isn't under fire because somebody thinks differently. It's how do we take what you believe and what you want and what I believe and what I want, and find the path to incremental value for everybody. Andy, what you're talking about, it's definitely a concern, right? So my version of my concern for what you're talking about would be people who come in to MCP, buy land, and build offices and nothing else, and then take the revenue from those offices and pull it out of the ecosystem. So it is zero-ish sum to that case. If there is money coming in at just temporarily a one-time thing, and then somebody siphoning off those funds from within our economy and ecosystem, and that siphoning is outpacing the infusion of brand new capital, then yes, that would be cause for concern. And that's one of the reasons why I will personally advocate that district owners have the ability to tax offices, because even if it's just 1%, it's not going to hurt the office owner really at all. But it is a way to ensure that there's less money that can leave our system. When resources are minted, where does the value behind those resources come from? I guess hypothetically, the Ethereum or the Tron that you're paying to collect them, that would be the value that's, I guess, backing those materials. You can then also take into account that it's not just let's say we'll use Tron because you're on the Tron side. If it costs you 10 Tron to produce 1,000 sand, that sand is technically backed by 10 Tron. However, in addition to the 10 Tron it's backed by, you're also burning energy and water, which should have a value as well. So I believe hypothetically, the resources or assets that are created and backed by the materials that are consumed to create them. So someone like citizens, when they're bred, they cost a lot to breed, right? So if a citizen costs 100 Tron to breed and collect, there's 100 Tron that's been introduced into the economy and ecosystem specifically that backs that asset for the time being until that Tron is redeployed in some other manner. But the biggest danger, I think, is the distribution through passive income sources, whether it be municipals, even commercials. While commercials do distribute to other parts, it is passive in the sense that if there's revenue coming in and that owner is just taking it and exporting it out of MCP into some other project or their wallet, that's a net loss for the economy and the ecosystem. Yes, but then I can then go and sell the material on the market or vault for more than the total collection cost. So on the vault side, I guess my response would be the underlying value of Mega itself, right? So you're putting something into the vault. What's backing that is Mega. So in theory, right now, everything that is produced, excluding wood, sand, metal, stone, brick, glass, steel, concrete, are all backed by Mega, right? And whether somebody chooses to sell it on the in-game market or send it to the vault, when all is said and done, there's 1 million Mega that backs all of those materials produced today or to be produced on the Ethereum side, and another 1 million Mega backing everything that has been produced or will be produced on the Tron side. So if you take that into consideration and you recognize that the vault, the exchange rates continue to change, so it's harder and harder and harder to extract Mega for more and more materials, then I think the underlying concept is that your materials, simple and complex, are backed by Mega. What's not necessarily backed by anything in a substantial manner like that would be your energy and your water, and to a lesser degree, citizens, appliances, stuff like that. Land and buildings, yep, no, to your point, land and buildings produce that stuff, yep. So it's not just, you can't just come in, pay $1, produce the materials, and you're done. There's infrastructure that has to be constructed and in theory, maintained in the future. And maybe that's where the maintenance comes into play, is that if you have enough maintenance or upkeep required, that's the ability to, again, ensure that there's more and more capital and assets that are backing all the stuff in game. But that's too deep. That's too deep for me. I don't know. I think I would defer to somebody who is far more in the know and subject matter on economics. I don't mean MCP economics, I mean economics in general. I can tell you the impact of anything on the MCP economy. I can't explain the underlying concepts. Oh, you got something there? Yeah, go for it. Or even if you want to, yeah, if it doesn't work, send me the link on Discord and I'll drop it in here. I think I have links set to be mod only. Not positive. So I wasn't sure what to expect if somebody was going to come in here and start posting weird stuff. Holy crap, it's 2 o'clock? Have we really been here for almost 3 hours? Wow. No, hey, man, deep question. Look, Andy, I said last stream, I would love for chat to come alive with questions. I can't say I want you guys to ask questions and then be selective and say, oh no, those questions are too tricky. I don't know the answer to that. I guess it's dangerous when a person has a microphone and is speaking about something that they are ill-informed on. So I will at least caveat that says, this may be absolute psycho babble coming out of my mouth, but here's my uninformed opinion on that topic. You sent it Discord? Awesome. Oh, yeah, his tweet. Perfect. Yeah, let me pull it up. There you go. Andres does some cool stuff with Twitter. Yeah, Noblest, that's the way to go, man. If I had my own breeding infrastructure and citizens and all that stuff, that's what I would be putting my money into right now. More and more breeding. Because that should be the direction that the team takes it. I don't know, Kevin. I think they've talked about, I know they've got the next installment on their blog, I think, is supposed to cover the design of the scholarship model as well as governance. I think those were the two things, scholarship and governance. Eric will track it down. I'm excited for both of those. I'll tell you what I'm not excited about when it comes to governance. I'm not excited at the polarizing behavior and statements that are going to start to be made as we start thinking about elections and choosing a candidate and policies. Like, I love right now that we have a community that is unified and united by everybody wanting Mega to increase in value, everybody wanting more people to come into the game. As soon as you introduce that Ethereum versus Tron, absolutely, I'll just say it's bullshit. If you're on the Ethereum side spouting crap about Tron, or you're on the Tron side spouting crap about Ethereum, just cut it out. It's senseless. It's absolutely senseless. This is a single game, is MCP, and ultimately it is MCP's. It's their responsibility to ensure that they have an ecosystem, not just in their community but in their game, where it makes most sense for both parts of the map, both cities, to excel and succeed, not in spite of each other, but because of each other. And that's the part we're missing right now. Tron doesn't succeed because of Ethereum, and Ethereum doesn't succeed because of Tron. MCP succeeds because of Ethereum, and MCP succeeds because of Tron. But both maps, if there was more reason for Ethereum people to be excited about what's happening on Tron and benefit from it, and more people on Tron to be excited about and benefit from what happens on the Ethereum side, we'd be a much happier, more unified community. 1119. Okay, so Eric says 1119 decision on missions and scholarships, the hot fix for the world demo of the alpha, next Mega World chapter, and the tour. Oh, and the rentals, right? Okay, so we should have something coming up pretty soon. That's very helpful. I'm excited to learn more about that concept of the Mega World Tour. I wonder what that consists of. I don't know if I've read anything to fully understand the scope of what that entails. But I have missed a handful of conversations when they've come into Discord. I've been too busy with real job stuff. Unfortunate. All right, so you guys, you can make sure that whole little monologue that I just went off on about Ethereum versus Tron and the bullshit that comes along with people digging in and being tribalistic, clip that up. And whenever somebody comes into the chat and posts something that's polarizing about one map or the other, one corner or the other, just drop that in chat. That'll be that way. I won't have to say it, because I get myself in trouble when somebody says something stupid and I respond to it. I'm not gonna do that anymore. Hustler, that's a great point, right? Having one single chain, I suppose I believe that's a good point. I don't know enough about blockchain, about the underlying technology to say, yeah, that makes perfect sense. There's no drawbacks to that. But that's, like, to me, the only thing that makes District 214 a Tron district versus an Ethereum district versus an MCP. When all is said and done, I don't want District 214 to be a Tron district. I didn't buy 214 because it's on the Tron map and not the Ethereum map. I bought it because it was what was most accessible to me at the time, given the funds that I have. And therefore, even when we look at Mega World, when you jump in, it's called Ethereum City and Tron City, but it's still MegaCryptoPolis. Like it's still Mega World. It's not. There's Mega World Ethereum, Mega World Tron, and so I like that they're bringing the two together. There's going to be growing pains, though, as people who are dug in on either side. I think the thing that I see most often occur is when one person, as players come in, and you have like this little bit, like somebody always asks the question, well, which side should I build or buy on? And you will never see me ever answer those questions ever again, because I'm not going to open the door to getting yelled at. But until there's enough people coming in that people don't feel as though they have to fight and scratch and claw to get a new person on the Ethereum side or the Tron side. Once the new supply of players coming in exceeds, you should probably start to see players relax and kind of just sit back and say, yeah, you know what? I don't have to fight to pull people over to my side to create more value for myself, because there's plenty to go around. Noblest, yes. Yeah, so definitely when I've streamed, so Noblest says the Tron world looks more active with players on Twitch. I have the impression that it has more players present who are playing on Tron, some are on ETH. Definitely from my side, when I've streamed, because Tron seems to over-index in the Eastern Hemisphere, Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia. When I've streamed at 8-9 p.m. Eastern, the Tron, predominantly the Tron community is not present. It's the Ethereum community, and we've got Eric and Kevin and Max and Blue and a handful of folks from the Ethereum side that do join. But it does seem like there's a lot of, especially some of the newer folks, gravitating towards Tron, which makes sense if you're brand new to crypto. If you don't have a whole bunch of Ethereum already sitting in your wallet, and you look at the cost of land in a brand new Tron district versus an existing open Ethereum district, you're talking about what might be $500 to build a level 1 fresh on the Ethereum side. You got to buy the land, you got to deal with the gas, versus paying 350 Tron in a brand new district and constructing it. Like it's tough to argue why somebody who's brand new on a budget can right now, with the prohibitive gas fees, jump to Ethereum. And on the same side, if you're a person, you've got a large budget and you've got Ethereum sitting around, why on earth would you go and build on Tron? Use the capital you already have, work within your means. So it's tricky having them on two different chains, and both maps are in two very different places in their journey. Ethereum is mature. It has a whole bunch of players with very, very large wallets behind it. The Tron world is still very much in its infancy, and it's thriving, or it has thrived to date, because there were early adopters that came in and built a lot and really jump-started the economy. And now, because the price of land is so cheap and new districts are continuing to open, it's easier for a new player on a smaller budget to jump in and learn the game on Tron. But there's going to come a point in time where once that 50/50 district is opened, those worlds balance out, and it's immediately going to become a thing where now somebody new should not be automatically jumping to the Tron side. There's actually a much more level playing field. Mega World. Yeah, I don't know, Hustler. The idea of having, I assume there will be a world fund, right? A world fund, whether it's like a global fund or not. I don't know how they're going to do that. Because both Mega, well, we know Mega as like there's a tax on those transactions. So I'm not sure where that stuff gets held, but presumably those taxes that are incurred, the taxes and fees when you swap to and from the vault, those fees and taxes are being held in escrow somewhere. And probably the same thing would occur as well if once world transactions start to occur. Oh yeah, awesome, Max. Thank you for the link there. And like Yeticorn said on Twitch, follow the MegaCryptoPolis category, because what the cool thing is there is it's going to alert you not just when I go live, but if anybody else goes live to stream MCP, I think you get an alert on that as well, which is pretty cool. I was really excited that we got that category set up so quickly, because every time I go live, I have to set the categories like just chatting, and now we get to actually stream specifically MegaCryptoPolis. Now there's no excuse for somebody else to not do this as well. If anybody else does want to stream or wants to do anything like this, please feel free to reach out. I know, Eric, you sent me a note, but I'll set you guys up on what kind of equipment I have, some of the stuff that I've encountered to date, so we can all make sure that anybody who wants to do this, whoever is next, is set up for success. And I think, I don't want to speak for them, but I think that myself and Baller are getting pretty damn close to being ready to do some stuff MCPHQ specific versus just one or the other. So more stuff to come for sure. All right, it's 2 o'clock. I've been negligent. My family is upstairs being so nice and quiet. It is a Saturday, relatively nice. It's not snowing here yet. I think we're going to call it here. I have on schedule, though, tomorrow. I would love for everybody, so you know, this is the first week I'm doing the Saturday, Sunday streams, because Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m., regardless of where you are on the globe, you're most likely to be awake, right? So tomorrow, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, which I believe is 3 p.m. Universal, we're going to talk specifically about Mega, the coin, the token, what it needs to succeed. There is, I know Oz and a couple of other folks who are really well versed with liquidity pool management and underlying tokenomics should be joining the chat as well. So we can talk all about Mega, what it needs to succeed, how it can be more integrated into the economy, all this stuff. So would love for everybody to join then as well. And hopefully MCP will be able to join that discussion as well, so it can be a little back and forth with questions kind of similar to the Scholar model. So would love for everybody to join me tomorrow, same time, same place, to talk specifically about Mega, both the Ethereum Mega and the Tron Mega. It's not one or the other. It is just the concept of the Mega token. And then next week, I will publish my schedule. It'll be a Saturday, Sunday stream as well. So I will publish that schedule either tomorrow or Monday, so you know what's going on. 2 p.m. as best on the US coast. Awesome. Yeah, this is good for me. I'm gonna have to figure, once the weather starts to get warmer, I'm probably gonna have like a winter schedule and a summer schedule. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But for the time being, I think I'm planning on sticking with Saturday and Sunday, because that seems to be the time that works best for everybody else. And then in the meantime, Eric, you will be happy to know I'm going to start. I've been inspired by Frank and Crypto Connection to start to do some pre-recorded stuff. So I will start to get these videos out on YouTube, available for playback, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll do some quick tutorials as well. So I'll give that a shot. Everyone, I'm going to stick around in chat for a bit, but thank you so much for joining. Thank you for the great questions. If you're a landowner in 255, reach out to HBizzle on Discord, post in the chat. If you are a landowner anywhere else and you would like advice or guidance, feel free to pop into any stream, post the coordinates, and if we can, we'll jump right to it. And for anybody else who is who's around and wants to use the tool that we were just using today, it is available on MCP HQ. It's the the land plot surveyor. You just put in the coordinates, and it's going to tell you what the efficiency of the building would be based off of the sector, based off of what is currently constructed in that area. So that is there for you. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. Stick around and chat, questions, and we'll just hang out for a little bit. Thank you, everyone. Bye.